Hello, good evening, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the pre-season event for the upcoming SimRacing International Transatlantic Trophy Season 1, the Motorsport UK Esports Approved League, and sponsored by SimCoach, and available only on the Premier SimRacing platform, available on PC, none other than iRacing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, our biggest championship yet here at SimRacing International has arrived with its pre-season event. We've got 10 rounds lying in wait in 2 weeks' time, but what better way to whet our appetites than by holding this media event or a pre-season show, and where better to host it other than Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit. Silverstone, of course, the staple of British motorsport, home to British motor racing as it's affectionately nicknamed, and the home of the British Drivers Racing Club of BDRC. Located in the old Royal Air Force field of Silverstone, where it is one of those circuits that withstood the test of time, and like many a circuit in the United Kingdom, what started off as runways of old has turned into a premier racing circuit that attracts not just club and national level racing, but also international level racing, including the likes of the European Le Mans Series and Formula One. And as our drivers get ready to take on this circuit today, they definitely need to make sure they're all set and acclimatised to attack a circuit that is by far no means easy. It's all about maximising corner speed from corner to corner and straight to straight, and argue the highest downforce circuits in the world, where it's going to be a good gauge of exactly how accustomed our drivers are to their racing cars. They get ready to get their seasons underway. But no points on the line today, it's only bragging rights up for grabs, but even so, some drivers want to score points against each other when it comes to bragging and also brownie points, and we'll get to see some of our major stars take to the grid, whether it be in their GT3 or GT4 cars. But alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you to this live broadcast from Circuit Side as YouTube tonight, the only place you can catch all the racing action live from Circuit Side, and as of course on youtube.com, and search for SimRacing International or SRI. And while subscribing today, so that we can stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts on a weekly and fortnightly basis here at SimRacing International. Indeed, we've got a bumper schedule and season of broadcasts coming up, whether it be our Thursday GT3 Championship, our Friday GT Championship, our UK SimRacing Sunday GT3 Championship, or of course the fortnightly Transatlantic Trophy Season 1. And with this pre-season event, of course, it's a great opportunity to bring yourself up to speed what exactly to expect for the season ahead, and particularly if you've not read any of the information and the marketing material that's been sent out for the last couple of months, will allow us to bring you up to speed, ladies and gentlemen, what the Transatlantic Trophy is all about, and get yourself set, of course, for what is going to be a brilliant season ahead. So without further ado, let's give you a little bit of an information download. Now, of course, the first thing we need to do is explain what our calendar looks like. 10 rounds of race action preceded by this pre-season media event. For today is Wednesday the 29th of July 2026. Rounds are hosted every 2 weeks, and that means that our drivers and teams have plenty of opportunities to get themselves all warmed up and ready to go for each and every round. We've got 60-minute races on the clock, plus also 90-minute races, albeit to be fair, today it is a feature race, 60 minutes here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. But you'll notice there, as we make our way into our formal calendar in 2 weeks' time, beginning, of course, on the 12th of August, it'll be round 1 of 10 at the Indianapolis Road Course, and we refer to the first 5 rounds as the SRI American Cup, whereby the theme here is the fact that we have based our choice of circuits off of the real-world McLaren GT Trophy America, and therefore all these circuits feature on that calendar, and we're going to be following that calendar throughout the year, albeit not quite aligning our dates to those the original dates, as otherwise we'd be definitely having a much longer gap than 2 weeks between each and every round, but we're definitely following those road courses. So we go from Indianapolis to the Miami Grand Prix circuit, the Miami International Autodrome, the home of the Miami Dolphins. That'll be for a 90-minute race there, one of our 2 endurance races that makes up the SRI American Cup. Then it'll be to Sonoma, the circuit located just south of San Francisco in the US state of California. And we're making our way all the way to Georgia for the Braselton Town Circuit of Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And then we bring the curtain down on the SRI American Cup, where a 90-minute race of Road America. But also notice there, at both Miami and Road Atlanta, we have mixed weather condition races, where the dry races are exactly what they say on the tin. Will it be sunshine and cloud? Whereas the mixed weather condition races, there is a guarantee there is going to be some rain at some point over the course of the race duration. Then we make our way into the second half of the season. That will be at the trophi.ai European Cup, whereby we've switched the focus to European circuits, as based on the McLaren Trophy Europe for the remainder of the season, and will be opened up on round number 6 on the 21st of October at the Mons Grand Prix circuit. 60 minutes of racing there at the Italian Temple of Speed. Then we make our way to Belgium for the Spa-Francorchamps circuit with its classic pit lane. That'll be for an endurance race round. And then we head to Mazzano, the world circuit, Marco Simoncelli, and that'll be one of the circuits that's underappreciated in GT racing, but in the modern era is now gradually becoming more and more appreciated, and not just seen as a racing circuit for 2-wheel racing action. That'll be the 18th of November, and then we will be making our way to the Barcelona Catalonia circuit. Of course, the circuit that's very much known for being used as a testing ground and a bounce performance ground for all racing series in the world, and that'll be on the 2nd of December. And then just before Christmas, we've got an early present for some drivers, because after Portimao, they'll be receiving their trophies, indeed their prizes. So 10 rounds, and it all closes on the 16th of December with an endurance race in the dry in Portugal at the Algarve International Circuit, but more affectionately known as Portimao, and that Grand Prix circuit will be playing host. So 2 halves of the season, and a brilliant season at it. And indeed, all the drivers will be taken on each and every round with points on the line from round to round, and what a calendar we do have. But of course, if we are going to be racing at circuits over a championship campaign, then there's got to be some prizes up for grabs, surely. And yes, there definitely are. So let's talk a little bit about those prizes. And well, some of the prizes you do see here, of course, will be the trophies that are available for our drivers who end up winning the championships and also finishing in the top 5. And in terms of what you can expect prizes-wise here, well, it's a great array of prizes, no doubt about that. And well, they do include a brand new custom-designed championship winner trophy for our GT3 Drivers' Championship winner and our GT4 Drivers' Championship winner. There will be one winner in each of our car classes. This is a championship, which firstly is based on 2 car classes, GT3s and GT4s. And indeed, if you've been a long-time viewer here at SimRacing International, you'll know that we've done this previously with the European GT Championship, or the EGTC, back in 2024, and we did similarly with GT3 and GTE in 2025 with the America's GT Challenge Championship. So therefore, there'll be one winner in each of the car classes. But perhaps the biggest prizes up for grabs are the Pro Championship winning team trophies for the 3 drivers that make up the Pro Championship winners, and also the Pro Am Championship winning team, whereby there will be one team in each of the Pro and Pro Am categories who will be taking home the highly coveted custom design championship trophies there. And that's an indicative image that we have on screen. It may not be exactly like that, but we're going big here, and indeed we're going to expect our drivers to really go for gold when it comes to those brilliant trophies. We also do have, of course, our SRI Black Edition trophies, and they will be for your 2nd through to 5th place finishers in both the GT3 Drivers' Championship and also in none other than the GT4 Drivers' Championship, and also applying for the 2nd and 3rd place teams in what will be the Pro and the Pro Am Championships there. So understandably, there's trophies up for grabs. Even if you're not the champion, there's still a trophy up for grabs there for the drivers all the way down to 5th place in the Drivers' Championships and down to 3rd place in the Teams' Championships. But those are the trophies up for grabs. Now, we had to emphasise there's trophies up for grabs because there's plenty more prizes as well, and here they all are on screen. And well, as we can see, we have 2 personalised game mats for the lead drivers of the best team livery, and indeed that's going to be decided by a panel of judges over the course of the season, and we'll be seeing personalised game mats being handed out to the team with the best livery. Now, we do have 2 90-minute Sim Coach team coaching sessions, which will be provided by a raffle draw, and well, we do see it saying there the pre-season event, i.e. today. However, we have received word that actually we are going to be delaying this into round number 1, and that is because we would like to do the raffle draw when all of the majority of our drivers and teams are on the grid. So therefore, we do have to excuse that there. And in fact, whilst we do see it there, very shortly what you're going to see is that a line we put for it, and Sonny is going to say very magically and shortly that it will be during round number 1. So the broadcast in 2 weeks' time at Indianapolis, we will be making the draw then and there. And there you go, you'll see the words change, and just like that, the text adjusts. It's magical in the background, is it not? Thank you to our broadcast director in the background, and we'll be doing that raffle draw during round number 1. We also do have $30 up for grabs in iRacing credit for the top 3 teams in both the Pro and the Pro Am categories after the opening 5 rounds, dubbed the SRI American Cup Prize, where we'll be taking the point scores from the first 5 rounds of the championship feature of the teams and working out who are going to be the top 3 teams there. And we do the same for rounds 6 through to 10 for what will be the SRI European Cup Prize, and that's $30 up for grabs there in the final 5 rounds of the championship for our top 3 Pro and Pro Am teams. We also do have $15 in iRacing credit for the top 5 lead drivers in both GT3 and GT4 with the lowest SRI safety rating, so long as they have competed in at least 7 of the 10 rounds. So what does that mean in normal terms? We are going to be keeping track of the instance and indeed all of the behaviours of our drivers over the course of the season. Our lead drivers, we should point out, more on that very shortly, what it means to be a lead driver versus a reserve driver. But the top 5 drivers are the safest in the GT3 and GT4 classes. They will be taking home $15 in iRacing credit. We also do have up for grabs at the end of the season a Butt Kicker Gamer Pro haptic system, and it'll be a raffle draw that decides who gets it, and it's for any of the lead drivers who are completed in at least 7 out of 10 rounds, and it'll be drawn during the season finale live on air in the broadcast. And well, an absolutely brilliant array of prizes in additions to the trophies. Indeed, we have gone very big here at SimRacing International for the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1. But of course, before we do start to get ready to go racing, we have to have some rules and regulations. And here they are. So in terms of what to expect, both the GT3 and GT4 classes shall run fixed setups as provided by SimCoach, our sponsor, of course, this season, providing these setups. And we're very excited to have these setups on the cars, no doubt about it. So therefore, what it means is everyone's going to be running fixed setups on their cars, and we'll be absolutely all set and ready to go. In regards to the machinery, there's no difference between our drivers. Indeed, each car will be equal. The only thing they most likely will be able to adjust on the car will be the brake balance. Now, in terms of both the classes, we will see them run with 10% more engine power and 50 kilograms less weight on the car, and that's going to make the car even more lively than it already is. And to be fair, these GT3 and GT4 machines are already very lively. Be very excited to see how exactly they get on there. A little bit more power to the engine and a little bit less weight in the car. Fuel loads have been restricted for the purposes of the classes to 60% for the GT3 class and 70% for the GT4 class. Now, I have received word in my ear quite recently that is the race setup restriction. There is also going to be a qualifying setup restriction where the fuel tanks are going to be much more tightly limited by comparison. I do believe it's 25 litres for the GT3 class and 18 litres for the GT4 class, and therefore it does mean that drivers have qualifying setups available to them, and they also do have race setups available. And a huge thank you once again to SimCoach for providing these setups, especially catered for these cars and made to be approachable setups, but also setups you can push hard to get the most out of the machine. Now, as for qualifying, which is currently underway, we'll come back to qualifying very shortly. It's an open format that's going to be in use throughout the season, so our drivers can come and go as they please on the circuit in their mixture of machines, and qualifying scrutiny shall be set to strict, which means that our drivers don't have much leeway when they do get it wrong, or run wide, or decide to dilly-dally out on circuit, and they can't afford to waste any time. As for all of our races, the instant point limit shall be set for 16 instants for a drive-through penalty, and at 26 you'll see a race disqualification. So we'll definitely be monitoring those instant points very closely there, and the drivers can't afford to get into too much contact. Meanwhile, pit stops shall see fuel added before tyres may be changed, as per the updated rules and regulations that we do run here at SimRacing International Series. In GT category, we will be seeing that split rather than the parallel of tyres and fuel, and that means strategy becomes all more important, particularly in those 90-minute endurance race rounds. But of course, those are the rules, the regulations. We've shown you the prize, we've shown you the calendar, but we want to get into some racing, do we not? So let's talk a little bit about our host circuit for this pre-season event. It's a Silverstone circuit, the Grand Prix Lounge, located in the villages of Silverstone and Towcester in Northamptonshire, the ceremonial county of England in the United Kingdom. 3.66 miles in length, or 5.89 kilometres, depending on your choice of units, but never changes at the number of corners. 18 of them, many of them household names, not just in the United Kingdom, but also around the globe. Whether it be the run through Abbey, into Farm and into Village at turns 1, 2 and 3, the run down the Wellington Straight, named after the Vickers Armstrong bombers of the Second World War. Indeed, a tribute to the heritage of the Royal Air Force Silverstone, or RAF Silverstone, the airfield name during the Second World War, and then, of course, being decommissioned after the Second World War. And we also do have the hangar straight, the back straight going from Chapel all the way out to Stowe, and that's in reference there to the hangars that were situated there during the Second World War. And in fact, you can see in the circuit diagram, a huge thank you to iRacing.com, not just their brilliant simulator, but the absolutely fantastic track that's contained with it, the crossover of the two main runways, which still does exist to today in terms of the grass verges. We also do have the likes of Cops at turn number 9, Maggots into Beckett's at turns 10 through to 13, the sequence that inspires the opening run of turns 3 through to 7 at the Circuit of the Americas, the circuit that really pinches from everybody. Indeed, it's pinched from Silverstone as much as some of the other circuits in the world. But 18 corners, many of them fast flowing, some heavy braking zones as well, including the run into the Vale chicane at turns 16 and 17 from Stowe, and therefore this is really going to be a test of our drivers' ability to handle their cars through the corners. But without further ado, let's make our way back to circuit side and see how our drivers are getting on in the qualifying session. And of course, we need to introduce what machines they're going to be racing, because of course, this is the Transatlantic Trophy. We do have GT3s and GT4s out there, but we don't just have any old GT3s and GT4s out there. Oh no, we have got McLaren machinery. And as Jerry Ireland makes his way down there for Altitude from Esports, he's one of your GT3 competitors, and he is showing off with the McLaren 720 SE as he parks up in the pit lane. So we do look to Leighton Austin, one of the reserve drivers out there who's decided to make his way out, and our reserve drivers are allowed to essentially go racing today in this pre-season event. They're allowed to have a bit of fun out there. They're not restricted to just simply sit in the pit lane for the pre-season event, because we have got plenty of spaces available when it comes to being able to get onto the grid. However, I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. So we have the McLaren 720 SE Evo GT3. What do you need to know about this car? As we do see Leighton Austin showing everyone how it's done as he makes his way through Maggots into Beckett. Well, a little bit of background on the car is that it was introduced in 2023 as the successor to the McLaren 720 S GT3, which was McLaren's first GT model design and built in-house by McLaren to compete in the GT3 class as part of what would say a GT World Challenge, for example, and also more what is now up to date and more in the present, FIA World Endurance Championship, also in the IMSA Sports Car Championship. Powered by an M840T 4-litre twin-turbo V8 engine based off a Nissan turbo system. Well, it's mounted in a mid-engine configuration to drive the rear wheel, so the drivetrain is mid-engine rear-wheel drive. And the notable differences between this and the original 720S GT3 is that firstly, the chassis has been upgraded to a carbon fibre monocage Mark II chassis as produced by McLaren as part of their works team. Also on top of that, we've seen refinements to the car's downforce to shift its aero balance forward to make the car more consistent when following other cars, while the weaknesses that was identified by a lot of the McLaren factory drivers when they went racing and also the customer teams is that in clear air, this guy is an absolute demon through the corners, because the one thing it's all built around is direction change. However, as soon as it got into the dirty air of another car closely following, particularly when it got within half a second, it really started to struggle with aero pitch, and in the end a lot of understeer being invoked to get a very sharp understeer to oversteer transition, which is never quite nice. So therefore, that's what's happened with regards to this car. And as we do see there, Leighton Austin making his round around, well, definitely keeping his head to the ground here and looking quite confident with the car, it can be said, as he makes his way on through a few more corners. What else do you need to know with regards to these cars? Well, what we also need to know here is the fact that there were revisions to the suspension to enable greater adjustability and resistance when subjected to wheel-to-wheel contact. It also was a car that's quite fragile should there be wheel-to-wheel contact between cars, but there'll be no longer that fragility by comparison, as we do see there Leighton Austin making his way through. But if that's our GT3 machine, well, we also have a GT4 machine out there, and it is none other than the McLaren 570S GT4. And well, to know a little bit about this, we don't have the Artura available on iRacing, because many of you be saying, where's the Artura? Well, it's not here, as we do see Brandon Dyer making his way around for altitude from Esports. Now, what you need to know about this car is it was introduced in 2016 as McLaren's first ever foray into GT4 class racing, and only now is gradually being phased out by the Artura GT4, which made its debut in 2023, unveiled in 2022 at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Powered by an M838TE 3.8-litre twin-turbo V8 engine as mounted in a mid-engine configuration to drive the rear wheel, so drivetrain again at mid-engine rear-wheel drive, where it's all mounted together on a carbon fibre monocell Mark II chassis, and a very potent car out there. And GT4s, of course, 80% road car, 20% race car. GT3s, meanwhile, they are the opposite, 20% road car, 80% race car. The point being, they all have to be based on a homologated race car, on a homologated road car, which of course can be bought if you've got the money and you've got some very deep pockets, particularly for a McLaren, although depending on who you hear about, it may not be the best thing to buy a McLaren, to be fair. But however, we're not going to express that opinion here at SimRacing International. We do know there has been some controversial articles in the past, but away from controversy, let's take a look in the YouTube chat and see who of you are here. And we do say hello to a few of you, including Chris Keenan, who gets in first. Well, he may not be first place necessarily in this qualifying session, but he was definitely first to get into the YouTube chat. We say hello to Chris. We also say hello there to Eva Winton, who says good luck to everybody. We also say hello there to Hus Ozzy, who says good luck everyone. GPEX to the podium. And we also do say hello there to Dexter's Motorsports Rob. That's Rob Mackay, who says good luck tonight everyone. And we also do say hello there to what is Chris Keenan, and well, wishing everyone the best there. Now, I can see some of you asking with regards to the lap time there of Thomas Weston, and well, he's decided to, I think, bring a GT3 when he is listed in the GT4 class, so therefore he is in a GT3, so bear with us a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. We are just going to fix that in the background, and it's a good spot there. It's a good thing this is a pre-season event, and I think Thomas Weston has decided, given it's a pre-season event, he's going to bring a bit of a different car to the party, and well, he'll definitely be told there by the organisers afterwards. Make your mind up which car you're going to be driving, Tom, because we do need to know for the purposes this season, so do bear with us, as we are just going to very quickly get this updated in the background. Unfortunately, we do have a slight technical limitation, which means we do have to lose our overlay for a brief while, but it will come back, we promise you that. It will come scurrying back to us very quickly, and when it does so, well, we'll get the update there. As now, as we do bring it all back, you should see 3, 2, 1, hey presto, Tom Weston is down in the GT3 class, just like that. Well, thank you, NX Next Gen Ultra, for pointing that out to us, and well, definitely there. With GT3s and GT4s, we would not be expecting a GT4 to be doing a sub 2 minute lap here at the absolutely wonderful Silverstone circuit. But as he does make his way around, Weston right now definitely looking very quick out there. He's got the full fastest of your GT3s. What else do you need to know for this season? Well, this season being dedicated to McLaren machinery, and indeed, may not be for everyone, but everyone's had the opportunity to learn a whole new car if they haven't raced the McLaren previously. But one other thing you do need to know, and you will see this from round of 1 onwards, is that we have 2 lead drivers in each team and a reserve driver. So here today, you will see some reserve drivers going racing alongside their teammates. They are allowed to, so we've got the spaces available in this pre-season session, as we do look to James Bostock stop the GPX SimSport, weaving his way through the corners in the car made GP2 machine. And well, hopefully he's not going to feel as though he's got a GP2 engine in that GT4. If anybody remembers the Fernando Alonso McLaren Honda days of mid-2010s, when he was partnered up with Jenson Button, and indeed what was a bit of a disastrous partnership, the revival of the legendary partnership of McLaren and Honda. But unfortunately, the only thing that was legendary about it was that everything did go very, very wrong. But as we do see James Foster make his way through, what do we mean by lead and reserve drivers? So each team can consist of 3 drivers. You have one GT4 driver, one GT3 driver, and then you can have a reserve driver who can be substituted in and out as the season goes on, and will essentially will cover for either the GT3 or the GT4 driver. However, there is a limit, which is the reserve driver can only substitute in for up to 5 rounds, because beyond that, if they went more than 5 rounds, they'd be doing over half the championship. As James Foster there gets it very wrong at Aintree and finds Barry instead, and well, he'll be towing to the pit lane quite quickly from that. But we do look to Lewis Johnson and making his way on around. And we're weaving his way up through the left into right there of Brooklands into left field. One other thing you need to know, how do we know who the Pro and Pro-Am teams are? Well, the best thing to do is sit back and not worry about that too much. We will, of course, bring you championship standings after each and every round. So after round number 1, we'll try and get the standings out going into round number 2. But if not, expect the standings to become available in what will be round 3 onwards. But the point is, the Pro and Pro-Am teams are separated based on the joint I ratings of the lead drivers of each team. So in Pro, it is any team that has approximately 4,400 or higher combined I rating. So therefore, you could have a very strong driver join the grid. Let's say they've got an I rating of 3,500 and a driver who's perhaps got an I rating of 1,000, and they'll most likely still be in the Pro, because the Pro driver there, the one with 3,500 I rating, will definitely take them above the margins. But meanwhile, the Pro-Ams will be below that 4,400 mark. So therefore, the idea being you have 2 drivers with relatively similar skills, still learning their craft, or you might have a bit more of an experienced driver trying to teach a less experienced driver. Indeed, if you're starting to push upwards of 3,000 I rating, you are starting to move into Pro territory very quickly. If you've got 2 drivers in that region, or one that's say 2,500 and one that's 3,000, you're definitely going to Pro, because the net average I rating on iRacing, I do believe, is somewhere in the region of around 1,300 I rating in road racing. So therefore, you do 1,300 times 2, you're getting to 2,600, and well, you're definitely within the Pro-Am categorisation there. We do see Lewis Johnson make his way on around right now. The number 15 driver here, definitely looking quite quick. And well, with 9.5 minutes to go, I think we've covered everything we need to right now. We do have 30 teams competing this season, consist of 2 drivers apiece, so we can have grids of up to 60 cars at each and every event. 13 GT3, 13 GT4, and a great amount of car variety. And speaking of which, we do have quite a bit here today. We've got 31 drivers in attendance, and there we have Steve Nicks in the GT4 there. In fact, so he's decided he's going to go into GT4 when we do have him currently listed as a GT3 driver. Well, there's always 1 or 2 who decide they're going to turn up in a different car. But hey-ho, at the end of the day, I think they're also, the teams will most likely still be using this as time to decide who's going to be in which car. And well, I'm not going to blame them, to be fair, ladies and gentlemen. It's not their fault that we do have them incorrect. This is always what can happen at a pre-season event. So as Nick makes his way on down, well, he's currently on a 217.571. That would put him at the back end of GT4 currently. And we do look to Charlie Devlin, who is definitely a GT3 driver out there. You can tell that in the more aggressive air on the McLaren 720S Evo, and well, in particular, if you want a very quick way to figure it out, is that very large rear wing on the car. But as he makes his way onwards, well, what we are going to do is we're just going to refresh what will be our overlay. So we are going to lose it again for a brief moment, but don't worry, it will come back. Give us a brief moment, and hey presto, it will return, and that will be in about 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I do believe that comes back, and Steve Nicks will be in the correct class, and Charlie Devlin as well there for future class racing. As he weaves his way on through, and we've still got 8 minutes to qualifying session left to go. And let's jump on board with Jean Breitemack for a flying lap here of the absolutely wonderful Silverstone circuit. Making his way down towards turn 1. As he does so, looking to his left-hand side, throwing the car into the corner here with a small lift and coast as he makes one out. Now coming through turn 2. The South African driver, Barbecue Bread Racing, looking to cook here as he makes his way down into turn 3. Onto the brakes he goes, coming all the way down to second gear, rolls out the right-hander, and now over to the right-hand side. He'll go for the open up of the loop. Coming out of the loop and through the left, now making his way with a little twitch there, a little bit of power oversteer as he accelerates up the gearbox and through the left hand of Aintree. You see there, just be sensitive with the steering. You don't need too much here mid-engine rear drive. The rear of the car will do the hard work for you most of the time. Now going down to Brooklands here, looking to his right-hand side, and onto the brakes he goes, about 70 metres from corner apex, and you've got to go very deep into the corner here. You brake as late as possible and carry as much speed as possible, now going into Luffield. And this is where you can either cut it as a V, or you cut it as a U. He decides to make a V shape out of it, slash it his way at the bump of the road. Oh, and Breitemack goes wide. And we gets it back together there, but that's definitely going to hurt the lap. And it may have, in fact, invalidated lap. He's trying to chase down that pole position right now of Leighton Austin. That's 2.5 tenths faster. And in Scopsy goes here, braking at about centimetres from corner apex. Dab of the brake, shut the car in, abuse the aero, and then back on the throttle as quickly as you feel that nose is bitten. Of course, not too quick, eyes. You'll understeer wide in that lap. Now into Magnussen to Beckett's here, from left into right, and winding his way down from 6th to 5th gear, then shortly to 4th gear as he comes all the way down the gearbox. As he drops to 3rd, he will here as he makes way into Beckett's, and as he accelerates out, get the nose hooked up full throttle, and onwards you go through Chapel and up towards the hangar straight. Here making his way over the entry bridge to get into the paddock for competitors and spectators, and now getting ready to go into Stowe Corner. The infamous corner, of course, where Nigel Mansell pulled the absolutely brilliant dummy on Keke Rosberg all those years ago. As he makes his way through the right-hander, a bit of an understeer there creeping into Stowe, a bit too much speed, and a bit too late braking, and therefore right now Brayton back, I think, really having a bit of a scrappy lap here as he comes in towards the Vale, gets that nicely hooked up very tight over to left on the exit to open up the right-hander at turn 17, and now going through Club Corner to complete the lap, and for Brayton back, well, it's not going to be the ideal lap, no doubt about it, but still, there's more work to be done as he makes his way towards that time in line. But as he does so, we look from the on-board there, and well, still plenty more time to come between our drivers, and well, as he makes one through right now, Leighton Austin trying to go even faster. He's currently on a purple lap across the board, and what's it going to be here for Austin as he heads towards the time in line? And the answer is going to be, as the last hit racing driver weaves his way between the corners. We're going to have to see here, he's gone purple in subsectors 1, 3 and 4, so this could be a monster lap. Previous best of 57.228. He crossed the timeline this time, and it is going to be... The answer is, I think that lap has been invalidated, in fact. It has not come through as an updated lap there, so no improvement from him. But meanwhile, what about your GT4 drivers? We do have Lewis Johnson out there at the moment. And Lewis doing a good job, no doubt about it, making his way on around. And he does so. Still a bit more time to perhaps be found versus Jack Wyborn, who's currently faster than by 17 thousandths. But Lewis Johnson says, we'll hold the phone, Paul, because we're going to be making our way up to the top. And, well, Lewis Johnson just like that, 2:08.866. Lovely lap from him. A 10th quicker than Wyborn. We'll have to wait and see if we get a response out of Wyborn. Meanwhile, Alex Fretwell a little bit further back by comparison here, the British driver, as he makes his way on through for Quench, the Quench Hydration Racing team. There were 3 Quench teams on the grid for this season, and he decides to park up on the exit going into the start-finish straight, and when the end goes to pit lane. I think he feels as though he's perhaps done enough today. But we do see Jack Wyborn saying, look at me go. Oh, definitely a very rapid out there, Jack, and well done on that lap. Albeit, I think right now, are you planning to jump back in the car there to try and respond to Johnson, or are you going to have to settle things on the track? Feel free to let us know if you do want to give us those inside thoughts there, but otherwise, you're always welcome to reserve your right not to say anything, of course, and keep us guessing to when we do go racing in due time. But as I try to make the way around right now, not long to go here before we do go to what will be the warm-up session. And well, when that warm-up session does come about, be interested to see what's to happen next between all our drivers, and indeed what the story is going to be there in relation to how well they can perhaps improve or gain a bit more time in the warm-up. And then when they do go green flag racing, of course, there'll be even more excitement there with regards to back and forth battling. But we do look at our car there of Brian Beardsworth making his way around. And right now, Brian is still looking for a bit more lap time out there. Currently the 11th fastest of everybody, but things are not quite clicking together perhaps the way he wants them to at the moment. But then again, some drivers will need a bit more time in order to be able to figure out exactly what time they have got. So it is all going to come down to here gradual improvements for so many drivers, but every time a lap's put together, somebody is going to find more time, and we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen as they go through the season. But as we do look to Robin Pownier, he decides to take it a bit easy there, and well, I think just giving some space to another car, and well, right now making his way through the corners, the number 69 driver. And well, Pownier definitely, I think, here in the wonderful white machine. A very lovely livery on that car, it must be said. And of course, that's a great livery to get a photo of. And I think we are going to see some great photos of liveries throughout the season, because we do have none other than Mr. Hedge Photography, providing the official photography for this season. One of the most decorated photographers in the iRacing sphere, no doubt about it. A big thank you to Mr. Hedge or Adam Hedgecock, as he's 94, I do believe, for being our official photographer, indeed receiving multiple awards and multiple nominations for VCO Simi Photography over the course of the last few years. And well, we're very happy to have Mr. Hedge taking the photos for the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1. But as we do see Robin Pownier making his way on down the stretch, right now he's got only this lap plus one more to try and improve. I want to see what he can do as he bolts his way in towards turn number 6. Still trying to find a bit more time out there, no doubt about it. But a lot of the drivers still also trying to maximise time. We haven't got you an on-board lap of a GT4 around here, so I think we're going to have to address that, ladies and gentlemen. But who's going to help us address that problem? Well, it might be Joe Glass, who's making his way around right now in the all-black machine. I suspect the livery perhaps not quite ready there for the Glass Tech racing car. Perhaps right now just run a prototype livery, and they'll be getting themselves set for what will be the season opener in 2 weeks' time. But as he makes way down at the back straight of Hangar, picking up a bit of a draft there off of the car of none other than Charles Devlin, I do believe, or Charlie Devlin. And as he does so, well, Charlie Devlin, the fastest driver out there now by 4 attempts compared to everybody else in GT3. So he's certainly found some time out there, and we've just caught that. Well done to him for doing so. Well, there's a response from Leighton Austin, who definitely was quicker, but it wasn't perhaps quick enough. Devlin heads towards the timing line, and well, he is going quicker and quicker. We'll see what he can do as we get ready to jump aboard with Joseph Glass for a flying lap of the Silverstone circuit. So makes his way on through then. As he does so, full throttle all the way in towards turn 1. You'll notice here, of course, a bit less engine power by comparison. As he comes in towards turn 1, less air on the car as well. So that's the lift and coast into the opening corner. Made his way from right into left, and as he comes all the way out towards turn 3, and looks over to his left-hand side to go onto the brakes. Braking and coming all the way down the gearbox to second gear, and as he does so, lovely line there for Glass. Now bring the car to the right-hand side, but not too far. Keeps it in the middle of the road as he comes through the loop. The idea being here, he doesn't want to throw all the weight around too aggressively, because he doesn't have as much air to calm the car down. But the only problem is, he does get passed there by GT3, so that's going to hurt his lap a little bit. He'll pick up the toe there from it as he makes his way down the Wellington Straight and gets ready to go into the braking zone here for turn number 6. Braking for Brooklands can brake a little bit later compared to GT3. He has got a bit less speed carrying to the corner. Lovely line there for Glass as he now makes his way into Luffield Bend. Does he decide to U-shape this? He does. Lovely line there from Glass. Hits the bump in the road at the right time. Has to battle a little bit of oversteer there. You can see how the car's essentially twitching on the front end. It's getting ready to fire up as he comes through Woodcote Corner onto the National Straight. The National Circuit used, of course, by the British Touring Car Championship and TCR UK. He now makes his way in towards Cops. Braking there at about 65 meters of corner apex, down to 4th gear. And as he makes his way out, a little bit of understeer, but just about keeps 2 wheels in the white lines. And on the exit curbing as well. And now Glass makes his way in towards Maggots into Beckett. Plenty of space to do so here. Makes his way from left into right, back into left-hander, gradually winding down his speed as he approaches each and every apex. And now through that right-hander, and Glass comes out to the corner here. Car fighting with him, a little bit of understeer kicking in there. That might be where tyre temperature's going up. And as he now makes his way down the stretch, well, he's got a brief breather. And I see a question asked about Devlin, how many laps has he done? He's done a grand total of 6 qualifying laps, so we do believe. But coming back to Glass, as he now breaks his way in towards Stowe Bend and coming through the right-hander, lovely line there from Glass. That is the perfect line there from Stowe. Hitting the apex at 80 miles an hour. Full throttle now down towards the Vale. Looking to his right-hand side there for his brake marker. The 100 metre wheel coming all the way down the gearbox. Goes a little bit wide. It's going to compromise his line for the second part of Vale. And we'll hold in third gear there to avoid rear wheel spin. Gets the power down. Comes through club here, fighting the car every step of the way. And what's it going to be for Glass? He makes way across that timeline. The answer is going to be, it's not an improvement, sadly. He's 3 tenths off his previous best, and something tells me where he did get caught up with that GT3 from the loop in towards Aintree. That would have cost him a 10th, and perhaps those micro mistakes just cost him some more time. But qualifying is almost complete. As we do see our Czechia driver there, of Patchit Fred, to make his way onwards. And to be fair, that may not be how we pronounce his surname. I haven't had the chance to do my research on his surname's pronunciation. So Patchy, if you're watching this broadcast after the fact, I do sincerely apologise. We will get it right for what is round number 1. And feel free to contact me if we have completely butchered it. And indeed, I'll do my research in the meantime. And indeed, I might be getting in touch with him, because we always want to get the names absolutely right. And if any of you are sat there right now knowing how to say his surname correctly, do feel free to put a bit of an enunciation in the YouTube chat. Again, these broadcasts are for you guys and girls, and we want to get you involved as much as humanly possible. If you do spot anything, if you have any information on any of our drivers that you want to share, feel free to call it out, because at the end of the day, we are going to be looking at the YouTube chat every so often, as long as it's, of course, civil information. As we do see our Quetma Motorsport driver makes about the final corner. Big slide on the rear end. He doesn't improve there, but pushes hard, and with a 10th in his previous best, he will stay 9th in GT4. But ladies and gentlemen, that is qualifying for this pre-season event complete, and it is Charlie Devlin who takes pole position overall and in GT3, just ahead of Leighton Austin by half a second in the end, and Jean Bretamat will take 3rd place just ahead of Ross Young. Meanwhile, on GT4, it's going to be Lewis Johnson who takes pole, just ahead of Jack Wyborn by 10th, and it's a further 4 tenths back to Brandon Dyer and Joseph Glass, who line up together on that second row of the GT4s. But a great qualifying session, no doubt about it, and all the drivers cool and calm and down. And well, we get ready now for the warm-up period, and well, that gives us an opportunity to find out what exactly is going down for all our drivers, and indeed what the thoughts are going to be with regards to what they're going to be next doing, how are they going to approach the race, what is going to be going through their minds. But of course, only they will know as our drivers, and that's what we're excited to find out as we do get set and ready to go. But as we do, well, we do look a little bit further down into the GT4s. We look to Brad Pickett. In fact, is he still in his car? He is not. He's just left his car behind. What about Robin Powney, the all-white machine? Well, it is there, but it is hidden away. But what we're going to do, as the circuit does go quiet for a little bit, is we are going to go a little bit quiet, and we are going to look to the scenic view, and we are just going to try and fix a small bug that we've identified in the background with this broadcast. But of course, it is a pre-season event, so that we use this to try and iron out all the little bugs and issues. And well, don't you fret, ladies and gentlemen, because coming up next is the 5-minute warm-up, and then we will be going green flag racing. And well, as we do go into that warm-up period, we're just going to go quiet for a little bit as we do investigate just a brief issue of the broadcast, and well, we will get that sorted. But don't you worry, we're still at the Silverstone circuit, and well, you'll get to see the looks of some wonderful GT3s and GT4s heading out there as Lewis Johnson makes his way out onto the track. And well, hopefully we fix the issue, ladies and gentlemen, but if not, we will fix it after today's broadcast, and indeed we will look into it for ahead of round number 1 of season 1 of the Transatlantic Trophy. I do believe our issue is still persisting, sadly, but don't worry about it. It's just something minor in the background, and well, it's not something that's necessarily visible, and it won't affect the way the broadcast plays out necessarily. But in the meantime, whilst we do have the 5 minutes before we do go green flag racing, well, what we can tell you is that all the drivers are in the correct classes. Indeed, I think we had a couple of GT drivers opt to switch over from GT4 to GT3 and vice versa. And well, as we do see that Essex, I do believe that is Essex Webbyfee, I believe, I want to say. Feel free to correct if I've got that completely wrong. And saying, well, I happen to know Charlie Devlin is racing Silverstone in real life on the 15th and 16th in the BMW Sprint Trophy. First time racing Silverstone for real. And, well, that's absolutely awesome for Charlie, to be fair. And, well, definitely we would recommend, if you are a fan of racing, you can get to Silverstone, go to Silverstone and cheer him on, because that's definitely going to be a huge feat to be going racing at Silverstone. And, well, I do believe, would that be in the, feel free to let me know there, Essex Webberfee, if that's going to be, is that in the Nanking BMW Cup, or is that a separate series out there? I do believe there's quite a few BMW trophies in the United Kingdom now, but feel free to fill us in there regards to that. So that's on the 15th and 16th of August, I would guess. And with regards to race events at Silverstone, let's just take a look with regards to that. I'm just taking a look on another monitor at the moment, and let's find out a little bit more about that for the man who is going to be going racing there, and that would be, I believe, that'd be as part of the 750 Motor Club International Series there. So not quite the BMW Nanking Cup, so that would apply to, I want to say, I'm going to guess the 116 Trophy, if I'm not mistaken. That'll be racing there at the time, and we'll feel free to fill us in. But that's absolutely fantastic, the fact he's doing real life racing as well, and iRacing, a very good tool, of course, to get used to what is racing particular circuits before you do go green flag racing, as Lewis Johnson makes his way on around. As he does so, well, Johnson right now, much like many of our drivers out there, are still enjoying themselves, no doubt about it, and getting themselves all set up and ready to go for the racing that is to come. But the big fault will be here. What's going to be the strategy over 60 minutes of racing? We are expecting most likely that our drivers will stay on the tyres they start on, as we do look to Charlie Devlin as he makes one around in the Future Class racing car. And I want to say that's not macaroons on the car there. I'm trying to gauge what the car is covered in. That's not teddy bears either. I think it might just be, I want to say that's either croissants, or alternatively that's going to be biscuits. I'm going to lean towards croissants, to be fair, although there's a bit of French connection, unless that alternative is chicken nuggets on the car. But either way, well, right now, Charlie Devlin that makes way around for Future Class racing and keeps us guessing with regards to his livery. But one thing he won't keep us guessing is what's going to happen very soon when it comes to all the racing we can expect, as everyone getting themselves set and ready to go. But we do see a few drivers there talking about what's going on in the paddock, and what I do believe that with regards to all of our drivers, there has been a start procedure that has been clarified. And we are just checking in with a driver very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, because we do have a bit of a serious question that's being asked about when do drivers go on green. So please bear with us. We do need to try and pass on some information very quickly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just confirmed that, and with regards to the starting procedure there, it is essentially for our GT4 drivers who will be starting 10 seconds behind the GT3s. They'll be expected to hold a 10-second gap, and they will go not on green, they will go when they get to the start-finish line. It'll be Lewis Johnson for the Quench 9 Pegasus Pantera Blue Raspberry team, who'll be the one who takes them away there. But as everybody gets ready, we make our way to the grid then, and this will be for the first of our races this season, albeit, of course, in this pre-season event. As all our drivers make the way out, and let's show you how they all line up here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So, as they all get ready to go, in our GT3 class, there we can see it's going to be Charlie Devlin, who takes pole position for Future Class Racing, and he'll be joined on that front row by Leighton Austin for Sim Coach by Glass Tech Racing. Behind them on row number 2, it's going to be John Breitenbach for Barbecue Bread Racing ahead of Ross Young for Dexterous Motorsports, and it will be no other than Joey Ireland, who starts 5th for Altitude 3M Esports, ahead of Tom Weston for Next and Western, the racing team. Then we do have James Howard for MJ Race Tech, ahead of Ben Bennyworth for Quatermass Motorsport, and it's Jordan Maymar for Simcast Racing ahead of what will be then other than Ray Howe for MRC and 491. Then starting in 11th, it's going to be the machinery of Bill Daniels ahead of Daniel Miller. And then we do have Gareth Newton and what will be the machinery of Kenneth Baird together with Scott Kostrich bringing up the rear of the GT3s. In GT4, you're going to have Lewis Johnson there for Quench 9 Pegasus Pantera Blue Raspberry ahead of Jack Wyman for MRC 491. And it's going to be Brandon Dyer in the company of Joe Glass. And then behind them on what will be the third row of the GT4s, it is going to be Noah Kelly ahead of Brad Pickett. And then we will see Robin Powney together with Alex Fretwell on that 4th row. Row number 5 of the GT4s, it's going to be Patrick Ferret ahead of James Bostock, with Robin Aston 11th ahead of Brian Beardsworth, and it's Andrew Fellows ahead of the South African driver there of Patrick Heenan, and well, they'll be very eager to go racing the two of them, and right at the back of the field is going to be Gavin Corby, and none other than will be Steve Nixt. But we got 16 GT4s, and the rest of the field GT3s, and well, ladies and gents, without further ado, as we please, it is time for this pre-season event to get underway. It is time for Charlie Devlin to take us away for 60 minutes of racing action here at Silverstone. And it's go, go, go for our GT3s. They roar their way down towards turn 1. And as they do, well, Charlie Devlin there getting a good start as me, or Joey Ireland and Sean Breitenbach battling side by side. But no change between them, as we can see Ross Young holding ground with Thomas Weston alongside. But as they battle their way in towards turn 3, well, right now it's going to be 2 by 2. But what's happening in GT4, here you ask? Well, it's go, go, go for Lewis Johnson. He's got to jump down Jack Wyborn, who's had a bit of a slow start. But all the GT4s are safely away as well as they make the way down in towards Village for the first time. And that's going to be Brandon Dyer looking up the inside of Wyborn, doesn't quite make it work out as they come too wide through, and now into the left-hander of the hairpin. It's still going side by side all the way round, but Jack Wyborn there mounts the curb. Oh, and it's got around for Lewis Johnson, and he is biffed there by the car that's coming on through. I do believe that's the car of Alex Fretwell that makes contact with Lewis Johnson. But Johnson goes for a spin. A very unfortunate moment for him as they all make their way onwards, but we have a new GT4 leader in the form of Jack Wyborn, who's got Brandon Dyer for close company. But with that change, we come back to GT3, and in good time as well, as Daniel Mellor finds himself side by side with Jordan Maymar. Here to go on towards the National Straight, and as they do, right now roaring the way onwards in towards Cops Bend, but too wide, and we can see Gav Newton and Bray Howell behind, but they're not looking to fight each other right now, as definitely Maymar and Mellor side by side. Daniel Mellor in the end switches it back, it doesn't quite work out for him there, as now they make the way down towards what will be Maggots into Beckett for the first time under race conditions. But running wide, Jordan Maymar has picked up what is a yellow flag. That is a slowdown, as instructed by the iRacing shooting system. He has to give the time back, and he'll have to give it back within 30 seconds, otherwise it'll get upgraded to a stop and go penalty. Meanwhile, Brandon Dyer leads the GT4s now through the corners here of Maggots into Beckett, as he does so. Well, good run so far from Dyer, but a bit more time to perhaps be found out there as he weaves and winds his way on through the corners. But coming on through, and right now still a bit more work to be done there by Brandon Dyer, no doubt about it. as he gets ready to make his way onto what will be the hangar straight. And still looking close between all these drivers. He roars his wound down, but James Bostock a bit further back. Well, here he's trying to put the pressure onto the Quackmas Motorsport car to patch it for it as they head in towards Stowe Bend. Bostock looking on the inside here, tries to go for the move. Doesn't quite make it work this time, or does he? Yes, he does actually. A bit more comfortable on the brakes. Too wide they enter the corner, too wide they're going to exit. And it's going to be a smooth move here from Bostock. Does he get it to work out? And the answer is going to be not quite in the end. Patch it for it goes nice and defensive and holds the ground. But whilst this has been happening, we have had a bit of drama meanwhile for Jack Wyborn, who's lost the lead of the GT4s. We now have Brandon Dyer, who's the leader instead. And well, it's all gone a bit backwards there for both Lewis Johnson and also what is none other than Jack Wyborn. And well, as we go on to lap number 2, let's walk you through the top 10 of each car. So we come back to GT3. Charlie Devlin, the pole man, still leading by half a second ahead of Joey Ireland. Then we do have Jean Breiterbach in third, ahead of Leighton Austin, losing 2 places at the start. James Helworth sits in 5th, with Ben Bennyworth in 6th. Oh, hold the phone. We had a run wide, and Charlie Devlin goes in too hot there into Brooklands, gets it wrong with Future Class Racing, rejoins there and comes right back into the thick of the fighting. Not the place he wanted to be whatsoever, and that's not worked out at all for him as he now tries to get things back up to speed, but understandably finds himself side by side with Leighton Austin as they make the way through. And who here is going to better the two of them as they head in towards the corner? It's going to be Leighton Austin on the inside, but Charlie Devlin now is going to look for a move in turn as they roll off the corners and on to Magazine to Beckett's they go. This is all going to be about bravery between these two. Who's going to be the braver of them? And it's going to be Leighton Austin who just gets back ahead there. Devlin right now for Future Class Racing. Take it easy, driving it smart. That's all you can do at this point is play your part and get ready to attack once again as he rolls down towards what will be Stowe. But Charlie Devlin drops to 4th, James Hurst 5th. Then it's Ben Bennyworth in 6th for your GT3s. Then Thomas Weston with Daniel Miller, Jordan Maymart and Ray Howell completing the top 10. And we have just had Kenneth Baird make his way past Gareth Newton. In fact, Gareth Newton's going very slowly for GPX and Sports Xenon. And I do believe he's had a bit of a mistake coming out of Maggots into Beckett's. He ran wide, and that's where he's dropped down to 14th place, being passed there by Ross Young as well. But those are all your GT3s together. And we'll Bill Daniels out there right now. And Daniels finds himself in amongst all the GT4s. So not the way he's wanted it to start. He had to come into the pit lane. I'm not quite sure why. I believe there might have been some damage to the car. We'll try and get a replay of that when we can. But then we come to your GT4s. Brandon Dyer leads the way after taking over the lead from both none other than Lewis Johnson and also Jack Wyborn. Joseph Glass sits in 2nd at the moment, an all-black machine for sim coached by Glass Tech Racing, and he has Brad Pickett closing on him little by little. Noah Kelly sits in 4th for the GT4s ahead of Alex Fretwell. Then we have Robin Power, Patrick Verrett, James Bostock, and it'll be Robin Aston who looks for a potential move here. Well, it could be almost 3 wide with GT3 trying to squeeze in the mix. Bostock goes defensive. Aston on the outside here in the all-black livery machine for Vibrant Racing. Tries to hold the line. Lovely bit of defense here through the veil. That's what it's all about. If you can go around the outside to the inside, you've got the inside for Clark, the most important part of the sequence of 3 quarters. Bostock tries to go around the outside, but finds he goes wider than the track limits will allow, and he has to fall back in now as it would be deemed to be passing off track, and that's an illegal move in the rules and regulations of SimRacing International. But Robin Aston holding 8th, then GT4 ahead of James Bostock. Then you do have Andrew Fellows who completes the top 10, but behind them, best to S11th is Brian Beardsworth for GPX Sports Xenon in the Coca-Cola machine. A bit of fizz and pop in that one, and Jack Wyborn and Lewis Johnson following as well. Wyborn right now trying to find his way back in for MRC 491, and as he makes his way through the left-hander, oh, what's happened there? And that's Robin Aston going for a spin. Gets too early on the power, coming through the loop, and sends himself for a loop instead. Well, RB, the number 26 trial, gets his head back down and get himself restarted as quickly as he can. But we do look to Leighton Austin under the pressure from Charlie Devlin still. More fighting to come between these drivers. Charging on there, and well, as we do say hello there to none other than what is Taito Nation, and well, that's none of James Helworth saying that it's a bit of a weird car. He does want his Ford Mustang back, or his battle tank essentially. He likes to refer to his American muscle, and there are a few different names in our Thursday GT3 Championship. Right now, getting used to mid-engine rear-wheel drive, it's not easy. I can tell you that, ladies and gentlemen. But as they make their way down into the braking zone here, well, this might be 1, 2, 3 easy as that on Leighton Austin. Looks up the inside on the braking, but it doesn't quite work out. Here comes Charlie Devlin looking up the inside, and well, right now the Future Class Racing drive does force it to be too wide through club, but as they make the way out to the corner right now, well, brilliant battle in between the two. They go 3 wide down the start finish straight. Sean Breiterbach looking vulnerable here. Devlin on the inside. Meanwhile, it's going to be Austin backing out, and Charlie Devlin makes a 2-for-1 special, but can he hold it now as they make the way in towards Village? Well, as he does so, comes across there, big twitch. Leighton Austin on the inside goes on the brakes, and in the end, there's contact between the two. Devlin turned, and well, small touch between them. I'm not quite sure whose fault that will be, but definitely the 2 cars making haste and hay, and well, oh, goodness me, as there's contact between Devlin there and Ray Howell is just trying to make his way around the outside of the recovering Devlin, rejoins, and he rejoins then to contact with Kenneth Baird, and when he gets a little bit scrappy between all the drives, but understanding the Scotsman there, I think a little bit infuriated, and like a ball to a matador, they're probably seeing more red than clarity, and unfortunately now he'll definitely need to see green instead of red as he looks to make his way past the red machine there of Kenneth Baird. But as he does so, Will Ross Young also tries to squeeze him through there, and Will Ross Young being very much an opportunist versus the Quench 9PP machine, and the very crushed flavoured car right now, definitely feeling a bit crushed with his aspirations to move forward as Charlie Devlin tries to look around the outside, and that does not work out there for Devlin as Scott Kosich queues up behind. So they claw the way over the top of the camera there. Mounting the curb. Well, here comes Devlin looking around the outside of Baird. I think Charlie Devlin's going to make this move work there as he looks into that braking zone. And just like that, gets the job done. So a place recovered there by Charlie Devlin. There's a lot more he needs to take back other than that. And he's not done yet as he gets ready now to battle his way on past Ross Young. Coming in towards the left into right here. Here they go. Segwaying the way through, left into right, and no change then. The dirty air of the car in front right now, something this Evo car has been upgraded to handle better. It's all about understanding the dirty air, the aero wash over the front of the car, and then trying to look for a way in. But right now, for Devlin, not quite working out as he makes his way up towards what will be turn number 15. He waits very patiently here. Kenneth Baird being passed behind. Devlin chucks it to the inside and goes all in there, and I do believe those are chicken nuggets on the side of the car right now. Well, definitely he's going to be on his chicken nuggets at the rate he's pushing as the number 29 driver makes his way into the braking zone. As he does so, well, Ross Young tries to fight back. There's contact between the two of them, and Young there definitely trying to get his elbows out, but Devlin's saying to him, no, stay behind, know your place. And right now Ross Young is made to stay in 11th place in the GT3 class. He loses the rear there into club, hits the curve very high, and that's not going to help the front suspension at all. Oh, goodness me, as Gareth Newton comes blazing across, and unfortunately there makes contact with Ross Young, hits the inside barrier as well. And for Gareth Newton, that's going to be a car that's definitely seen better days. And that's a big hit to the wall there. And Gareth Newton crawling along there, going for Abbey into farm. And right now, that might be a car that has bought the farm. We'll have to wait and see where he has to come to the pit lane. But from all the drama that's been happening in GT3, what's going on in GT4, I hear you all ask? And we want to know, as we do see James Bostock right now heading up Joe Glass. Well, these two have changed places. In fact, they both dropped a long way down the order. So there's been some sort of incident we haven't quite seen. We have to get a replay of that when we can. We've got a few replays queued up here as these drivers make the way on through. And once they come on down here, Glass right now versus Bostock, of course, two friends in the SI administration team, and right now rivals out on circuit, with respect being shown by both of them, as we do see the Glass Step racing by Sim Coach Car, trying to make the move stick here, too wide they come through club, and well, in the end, who's going to get the upper hand? As meanwhile, we can see Jack Wyborn and Lewis Johnson watching this, and both our drivers who were towards the front of the field, they want a way in, as we ride on board here with Lewis Johnson inside the car, very cramped cockpit this, and that's going to be Wyborn trying to chuck out the inside there of Bostock, gets it, but now he's too wide as they make the way through the corners, and Lewis Johnson says, why not make it free? And why doesn't he as he goes up the inside there? Goes all in. It's a brave move. And in the end, Joe Glass suddenly finds out he's in a free wide. James Bostock completely backs out of there and decides, you know what, I don't want any part of that. And meanwhile, it's going to be a cut back to the inside there from Jack Wyborn. Lovely switch back there from Wyborn. And Lewis Johnson, to be fair, 10 out of 10 for bravery. And it's not over yet as Wyborn tries to close the door on him. But Johnson says, you can't do that. I'm already alongside you. So free wide they come up towards what will be Brooklands. And right now, Johnson comes across there, gives a tap to Wyborn. Wyborn in turn is sent onto the path for Glass. And Lewis Johnson does make it a 2-for-1 special there. Had to get his elbows out a little bit, but a great racing between our GT4 drivers, and that is what the Transatlantic Trophy is expected all to be about, and they're already showing it. 10 minutes into this race, and well, we've already got brilliant batting. You would think they were racing for the championship crown right now, the way they're racing. No, this is pre-season, no points up for grabs, just bragging rights and perhaps some post-round interviews afterwards, but either way, all these drivers absolutely having some fun out there in the GT4 class as much as they are in the GT3s, although sadly, the fun has stopped for Gareth Newton because he's into the pits for repair work. He does have a fast repair available, and therefore he will be using that up. That's after the double whammy, the contact of course coming out of club and into the pit wall as well at the end of that lap only moments ago. But right now the battle for 7th place in GT4 really building up to a crescendo, but we need to take a look back at some of the big moments in the start of this race, including why Lewis Johnson's down there in the first place. As we do get a replay, this was right at the start, and we had a brilliant race start there to Lewis Johnson. Came out of the village and in towards the loop he went, and as he did so, well, cold tyres, cold brakes, unfortunately the tyres that let him down there, and the whole field had to split around him, and as he went to get it turned, unfortunately Alex Fretwell going head on into him there, and well, I'm not blaming Alex for that because he would have been caught blind by it. This is what it looked like from Fretwell's perspective for those curious. We do have the footage available, and this was your Quench 9 Pegasus Panthera very crushed car, making his way through the corner. Now at this point he will be getting a call most likely about now that there's been an incident. However, he won't see it, and in Sunny he sees it too late. So he's followed every other car through thinking we're all going to make it. Unfortunately he goes a little bit wider compared to every other car, and that is what leads to the contact between the two. But then Jack Wyborn had some difficulty towards the end of lap number 1. The man who was leading GT4 in the absence of what was there Johnson made his way into Brooklands, and as he did so, it's going to be a very similar incident. Loses the rear of the car very slowly, and that is one of those slow motion spins that you have no control over. Once the car goes, you're waiting for the pendulum essentially to swing away from you, and it did so exactly there. But then we did have this for Charlie Devlin on lap number 4. And this was where things went very wrong for the man who was leading the way in GT3, and it was that three-wide battle between himself and also Leighton Austin and John Breitenbach, and in the end, a little bit of touch between the two of them. What did that look like from Breitenbach's perspective, I hear you ask? Well, here we go. This is what it looked like on board the barbecue bread racing driver. So you can see the touch there between Austin and Devlin, and in the as they come across, I think there was a tiny tap there, maybe netco contact to be fair, but either way, tiny touch between Leighton Austin, Charlie and Devlin, and whilst we haven't got as much stewarding on for this pre-season event as we will in our races over the course of the season, I'll tell you one thing that maybe looks at those shirts, but I would not envy them for the difficulty they have trying to pick that one apart. We had this simultaneously for Ray Howe, the MRC 491 driver, a bit further back in GT3, as he made his way on through the corner. Well, Devlin was recovering, and unfortunately, Devlin there come across and clips the rear left quarter panel of Howe's car. Well, I don't think there's any malice meant there, but understandably, Howe won't be too happy about that. And then he did have Kenneth Baird come straight into the side of him there. And well, I think that's all part of the recovery, unfortunately. But then what happened in lap 4 to the GT4s, particularly Joe Glass, who at the time was making his way through Club Bend. He made his way through, and I think he was sat there on the rear by the recovering GT3, and I believe that was the SimCoach car, and unfortunately there a bit of SimCoach on SimCoach civil war, and Joe Glass being turned around just like that, and then having to get himself back together. That explains why he found company with James Bostock, and we just had this for Steve Nix, I do believe. GT4 driver for Nixton Western, and well, what happened to the Luxembourgish driver? As he came out the corner, GT3 come up behind, taps him on the rear, and oh my goodness, goes into the national pit lane wall there, and well, brutal impact there for Steve Nix, and hope all's okay, because that definitely be felt in the rig. But as we do come back to your racing, still more to come, ladies and gentlemen. Only 14 minutes in, if that. We've had plenty of action so far, enough to create a bit of a mini highlight reel. But as we do say hello there to Sean Clark, GTR, who says, let's go Glass Tech, and then ask the question, what am I watching? Well, you're definitely watching the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1 pre-season event here from Silverstone, but also you're watching some incredible battling between drivers, no doubt about it. And cheering on their Glass Tech, as we do say hello to Danny, who's cheering on MRC Endurance and saying you guys can climb and bring it home. Well, they've got a bit of climbing to do, but be rest assured they will do everything they can to climb forward. But as we do see James Howard rolling his way on through, the MJ Race Tech driver, not racing as part of Dexterous Motorsports this season, different team. And right now, well, he's got the monster claws through the side of the car, the monster slash marks. And well, has he got a bit of a monster in the car? And of course, he's partnering up with Martin Kenyon for this season, so that's how you get MJ Race Tech, and the fact it's Martin and James Race Technology. And we're pushing on the two drivers who have previously been teammates of Dexterous Motorsports, but deciding to go for a bit of a different team for this season. They come charging on through. We also do say hello there to Joe Sparrow, who is cheering on none other than Steve Donnelly. And in terms of where Steve is at the moment, well, we are trying to find him out on the circuit. We can't quite find him at this time, unless my eyes are going completely blind. He may be out there somewhere. We'll try and find him when we can. These lines coming through right now. We've got a yellow flag for Scott Koshich. That's the track limits. He brings a lot of gravel with him back onto the circuit, so I think he's had a bit of a journey, most likely at either Village or the Loop. And well, he's being penalised for his journey as he burns that slow down there. But we look back to Howarth, and also John Breitenbach and Ben Pennyworth. And well, Ben Pennyworth, good to see him on the grid for Great Mass Motorsport, and weaving his way between the corners here. The team that has been a staple of SimRacing International Series for the best part of the last 3.5 years, if I remember correctly. It wouldn't quite be the same if we didn't have the colourful, what is blue into green machines. He heads on down. But as we do see Joe Sparrow saying, I can't see Steve Donnelly either. I thought he was driving today. Well, he may have decided not to drive at late notice. And well, we do know he is very likely to be on the grid for round number 1 in 2 weeks' time. But indeed, I'm as surprised as you are, Joe. And well, sometimes these pre-season events can catch us out. But from going from talking about a Joe in the YouTube chat to a Joe out on circuit, there's Joe Glass looking for a move to hold off Lewis Johnson. And makes his way back ahead there of the man who took pole position in GT4. And well, Glass making that move stick quite smoothly. Well, gets it done just like that. But what's it going to be next? They come through the corners. We'll have to see. As he makes his way off the bend now and in towards the left-hander there of turn number 4. And we can see there, Joe Glass definitely just getting everything right now as he rolls off those bends. But as the sim coach by Glass Tip Racing driver, his next target will be Jack Wyborn. Well, there's a bit of a gap that's closed down versus Wyborn, and he will definitely be very eager to close it as we bring up the intervals there between our drivers. in the timing tower, and sim coach by Glass Step Racing driver 9. He has got to now close down 1.5 seconds there versus Wyborn. As meanwhile, further back, that's going to be Brian Beardsworth chucking up the inside of Andrew Fellows. It'll be GPX on GPX cars here. Well, 2 wide they go. A GT3 behind and trying to carve their way through. And I do believe now we've got the GT3 starting to put a lap on the GT4s, and this is where things get even more difficult between our drivers as they come through the right hand there of Woodcock Bend. But everyone doing very well. And do keep in mind, blue flag rules in this series will state, much like in any endurance racing championship in real life, it's the responsibility of the faster class of car on the lead lap to make an overtake on the slower class of car. The slower class of car is to be predictable. They are not to have to just they're not to just simply pull aside and let the car go unless they think it's going to be worth their while. Indeed, they're expected to just simply hold their line and let the faster car do the hard work. As all these drivers roar the way through, and Ben Bennyworth meanwhile still feeling the pressure of Howarth behind him. Howarth trying to get a bit closer here as they make the way on down. But really interested to see way this is going to go as they continue the way on. And you can see there's going to be 2 by 2 here. GT4's on the right hand side of your picture, GT3's on the left hand side of your picture, and Ben Bennyworth in the end makes a bit of a missed call there, gets caught up behind what will be the car of none other than, I do believe that's Andrew Fellows. He does clear him in the end, but James Howarth gets even closer here. Into the braking zone they come, and as they do, well, there we can see a real big queue and a big concertina effect. But as Jack Wyborn comes out the final corner, he finds himself battling there with Patrick Fred as they come in towards turn 1. They go on to lap number 9 of the GT4 race, and Wyborn still trying to pick his way through. Can he find a way in this time as we ride on board the front bumper camera of the MRC 491? And we're getting onto the brakes here. Here he goes up the inside, but it's not enough there. He tries to throw it all in and essentially get the Crankmass Motorsport driver to back off and open up the door, but in the end the door is closed in his face, and Patrick Fred calls out the bluff of Jack Wyborn. Wyborn went for it, but he needs to go a little bit further. He needs to send it even more. He needs to put a first class stamp on it rather than a second class stamp. Here they're coming down and getting ready for what will be the next braking zone. Does he go for it this time? And the answer is going to be no. But could we have a bit of an intervention shortly? Because here come all the GT3 crew. Joey Ireland and Leighton Austin have already cleared our battling GT4s in front. But now Jean Breiterbach has the unenviable task of trying to pick his way through. As well, he gets closer and closer. Their bit of dust being kicked up. That's going to be a bit of an inventive line from Jack Wyborn. Taking a lot of apex. Big twitch on the exit there. And John Breiterbach gets between the two of them. He slices his way through and using the greater aero package of the McLaren there to carry all the speed in that GT3. Well, coming in towards the corner now, we can see on the inside there, Ben Bennyworth slices his way out the inside of his teammate, Patrick Fred. And as they go on towards the short run, well, now here's James Howarth finding himself a bit cooped up there as they all come through. What about Charlie Devlin meanwhile? He's away with the back of Daniel Mellor, trying to make his way up another place. Looks one way then the other. That's not going to work into Maggots into Beckett's, but goodness me, will he try? Well, to be fair, you can't blame a man for trying as Devlin loses out with the dirty header, just invoking some understeer. But so close right now, but absolutely fantastic racing between all of them. And well, that livery is making me hungry every time I look at it, ladies and gentlemen. I've had food this evening. They haven't just left me in here with no food in the commentary booth. But right now, as Daniel Mellor finds himself under pressure here from the chicken nugget machine, the future class race number 29 tries to go for the move. And will he get it done here? Will it be a big snack that he's going to consume? The answer is yes. He'll snack on that 8th place and he'll get it done just like that as Daniel Mellor falls back behind and there's no real response. But behind them, Jack Wyborn on the inside there, Patrick Fred trying to take over 6th place in GT4, and he gets it done there into the Vale just about. Brilliant move there from the British driver, and in the end the Czechia driver just losing out, but he won't be too upset about that. It's absolutely fantastic racing between them, and I get the feeling there's going to be even more of it to come a little bit later on. But right now it's definitely swinging the other way. Jack Wyborn getting ahead. We'll have to see what happens next in the story between them and whether Wyborn can get onto the back of Robin Pownier, who we talked about since the start of this race, starting 7th in GT4, now to 5th place, and he's got a bit of pressure to move forward versus Alex Fretwell, and he does have a queue of GT3s eagerly awaiting to pass him. But as he makes way onwards, he's going to let those places go one by one, and we can see there Devlin following Maymar through. John Maymar doing a very good job of defending here for Simcast Racing. As the number 29, known for his defensive credentials, to be fair, really sticking the defensive wall up versus Charlie Devlin, albeit at the same time trying to attack Thomas Weston, but goes a little bit wide. Big twitch there from Charlie Devlin, really pushing hard in that car is Devlin. I mean, you see the confidence the sim coach setup really giving him the ability with those tyres all warmed up to push out the corners and really get that front end to twitch As he makes way into Scott's Bennett, Jordan Maymar defends around the outside. He runs a bit wide. It will be an off track. Does he pick up a slowdown penalty for it? No, but he loses some momentum. But now here they come to Maggots and Beckett. They queue up behind some of the GT4s, including the car of Alex Fretwell. Oh, elbows out there. And well, I don't think Alex is going to appreciate that too much. And well, it does mean that Charlie Devlin does get through. However, at the same time as well, Jordan Maymar now will find Daniel Mellor getting close as Bill Daniels making his way side by side here with Scott Kostrich. And well, the Axis SimSport driver from Latvia find himself all the way around the outside. And well, if that is his profile photo there, I'll definitely say he is doing a great job for a dog, but I can imagine that might be his dog, his pet essentially. And well, Bill's appearances will remain unknown for the time being, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of driver profile photos and also all their logos shown on the broadcast in 2 weeks' time in our season opener. But as he barks up the right tree and makes the move for 11th place, gets it done versus Scott Kostrich, what's happening in the front of the field? Well, we do have Jean Braithwaite taking over the lead because Joey Ireland is in for a strategic pit stop, we believe. Or is it? Is this actually? Well, no, yes, he is peeling into his pit box. So Ireland is going to be one of the first to come in for the pit. And we do have Ross Young just in front of him there, although Ross Young, I believe, has retired from the race due to an issue with the car. We'll have to wait and see what's happened when he does get back out there. Meanwhile, if it's going to be the first pit stop and it's going to be an attempt at an undercut from Ireland, what's it going to be here from Brandon Dyer for Altitude Frame Esports? As he roars his way onwards. And I do see Essex Webberfee there clarifying that Charlie Devlin having to manage the rear damage that he had from the instant earlier on, and that explains why the car is looking more twitchy than normal. And thank you for the heads up there, Essex, we do really appreciate it. But Brandon Dyer right now 5 seconds ahead of Brad Pickett, and then turn it's another 2.5 seconds to Alex Fretwell, who is still trying to make chase, he's trying to make haste, he's trying to make hay, but right now the problem is he's staying in third at this point in time. He's got no real way to get any closer. But the thing is, at the end of the day, he's just got to simply make sure he keeps his head down and keeps on pushing on. That's the best he can do at this time, and we'll have to wait and see which way this goes a little bit later for him. But as the drives roar the way around, it's been a very entertaining race so far in this pre-season event. We're almost at the halfway point, and well, I can tell you one thing, whilst the GT4 class is spreading out a little bit, we are not seeing the big spread out of the GT3s on circuit, because there's Jean Braithwaite back right now, your leader on the road, having seen the pit stop, of course, from what was our class leader at the time of Joey Ireland. And I do believe that we have had Leighton Austin retire from this race due to a technical issue of the car when he was leading and leading by a couple of seconds, and sadly we have lost Leighton Austin from Silverstone. So it does seem as though it's all gone a bit wrong for Leighton, but he definitely had a good run whilst it was going well. And now suddenly Jean Braithwaite is trying to pick up the pieces, but Joey Ireland, the man who's pitted, does the undercut strategy work out for him? There is Joey in the Altitude Frame Esports car. I do believe an avid motorcycle racer as well, based on his profile picture there. Enjoys 2 wheels as much as 4 wheels. And I'll try and catch up with him as to what he races. But right now, we look to Lewis Johnson in a wounded Quench 9 Pegasus Panther Blue Raspberry machine. And as he comes in towards the right-hander there at turn number 15, what can he do? Well, he's got to try and find his way past Joe Glass. These two have been back and forth all race long. And Johnson this time looking for a potential move into the valve, but still cannot get close enough here. And remember, these are all equal machines. There is no difference in the car other than the driver in the car when it comes to the individual class of GT4 and GT3. Everyone's running an identical machine, and this really does make it about the driver. The only thing they can tweak is the brake bias on the car. The traction control, the anti-lock braking, all of it is fixed otherwise. We do see our GT4s make their way onto another lap, but as they do, we do have Bill Daniels into the pit lane from the GT3 class. GT4 staying out there, so that's going to sweep around the outside by Altitude 3M car of none other than what would be, trying to discern who that is making the one through, but that was brave Joey Ireland there, as there's been a tap from Joe Glass, the rear of Lewis Johnson, and Lewis Johnson sent sideways, gets it back together, but the tiniest of touches, and here comes Patrick Vray on the inside, and they make contact as well when it goes wrong there, and well, Patrick Vray is sent spinning to the gravel. Does he avoid the tyre barrier? Just about there, and well, Patrick definitely trying to be the opportunist there, and I don't think Lewis Johnson was going to oblige him or welcome in that regard, as Vray rejoins the racing circuit. However, he's got to get back together, and Andrew Fellows will make his way on through, and what we can see there, Patrick Heenan also going through, the South African driver, the other component of the barbecue bread racing team on circuit today. Well, there's lovely liveries, of course, celebrating the South African flag all over the car. And right now, he's got a bit of work to do to try and make his way into 12th there in the GT4s. But can we get a replay of what happened there between Joe Glass and Lewis Johnson? The answer is yes, and here we go for a trip back in time. So this was the two drivers made their way out to turn 3 in towards 4. And you're going to see here, Glass on the inside crowded a bit by the GT3, and that is the contact that led to Lewis Johnson losing the rear a little bit. But then, as Patrick Frere went on the inside, Johnson turned in, Patrick was there. Neither driver wanted to back off, to be fair, and I think that is going to be considered as 6 of one and half a dozen the other, or in other words, it's 50-50. It might be considered a racing incident, the Johnson and Frere incident. But as for the Glass and Johnson incident, that'll be a tricky one as well, because I think Joe Glass was caught out a little bit by the GT3 on his inside, and it led to him making that contact to the rear of Johnson's car, or the rear left quarter of Johnson's machine. But as he tries to get things back together, we also did have a bit of an excursion for James Howarth only months ago. This was your GT3 driver, MJ Racetech. What exactly went wrong? He is in the pits now being serviced. He lost the rear of the car, and in the end had to get it together, but it went straight to the barrier. But thankfully, the pit lane was right there, and he could immediately come into the pit lane and take a fast repair. But as we come back to your racing, Andy Chell there, who we say hello to. One of the big names indeed, I do believe, what is the vice team principal, or indeed the assistant team principal of Great Mass Motorsport, to another Mike Barber, although Andy will correct that if I'm wrong. And what he's tuning in saying, good save from Patrick, I'll have to give him a raise. And indeed, if he's ever considered if he's good at catching a car, has he ever considered playing cricket or baseball? Because he might be good at catching a ball, as we like to say. But either way, of course, we shouldn't make too much light of what's happened to Patrick, given he's lost out quite a bit. But in fact, he's into pit lane with a black flag. So I wonder what's happened there. Has he sped into the pit lane? Alternatively, has he picked up a black flag for a drive-through penalty? And it is the latter. Patrick Frere has had a drive-through penalty, and, well, he has served that penalty. We believe it is potentially because of instant points. And just like that, he will have lost the best part of 35 seconds of race time. But as we continue on, well, we have lost Bill Daniels in this race as well. Bill's had a bit of difficulty and has dropped out of the race, we do believe. But we still do have a grand total. Always 13 runners in GT3 and 16 in GT4. All our GT4 starters are still here, which is absolutely great to see. Our 31 cars, 16 GT4s, 15 GT3s, and plenty of action. And Andrew Shell confirming he's 14 principal there. Well, thank you for the heads up, Andy. Do apologise there for mistitling you, shall we say. And, well, we'll definitely make sure we get that right going forward. As meanwhile, we go forward to the GT3s, and into the pits comes Daniel Mellor, the 5M Racing driver, and he comes in just before the halfway point of this race and makes his way down pit road. Well, this is going to be for the 5M Racing driver, the only pit stop he's likely to make today, to see what that's going to be. Now, what's very interesting, as Noah Kelly looking for a move here for LS Racing on Alex Fretwell, is how the pit stops are going to work out for the GT4s. We'll come back to that shortly, though, because we are enjoying this good little scrap for third place on the road, at least in the GT4 class, and this really is third place on the road and strategy between Fretwell and Kelly. Well, the reason we are a bit intrigued about the strategy is because of the fact these GT4s will typically use significantly less fuel compared to their GT3 counterparts. You know, the fact they don't have as high revving engines or aggressively revving engines. Therefore, the pit window of the GT4s may just be that little bit longer. But we'll have to see which way it goes in reality. As at the inside there, that is going to be none other than Fretwell's teammate in the GT3 coming through, Kenneth Baird. So Baird right now will segue his way through, but as he does so, well, Baird's got problems because the Scotsman has got James Howard for close company. Howard has pitted, so has none other than Daniel Mellor in front, but not Kenneth Baird. So therefore, the Quench 9PP driver has definitely got to worry about the fact that he's essentially in a bit of a different race right now as he rolls his way onto the Wellington Straight. As he heads on down, Ben Bennyworth, meanwhile, feeling the pressure of Charlie Devlin, and Devlin doing a fantastic job of recovering in the damaged car as they power the way onto the hangar straight. Out to the chapel, we look back the rear from Bennyworth's car at the moment, and well, the battle between these two, the gap standing at only 2 tenths. It's a further 1.2 seconds to Jean Breitemack, and remember, we have the big question mark over that pit stop for Joey Island. Where does that bring him right back into the mix? Number 96 driver from the United Kingdom. He's been on the grid for several seasons here at SimRacing International, also raced in several other series around the globe, including the likes of the Next Gen Touring Car Championship, and well, a big staple of the Great Mass Motorsport team, also racing as part of the endurance events. He will be no stranger to arms out fighting, nor to feeding the pressure as he heads towards the timeline. 1.2 seconds between him and Breitenbach, but right now, 3 tenths between him and Devlin, as Jordan Maymar and Ray Howe are both into the pit lane. Jordan Maymar comes in. Where's Howe? He'll be a little bit further behind, most likely, and we'll very shortly see him make his way into the picture. There he is. There comes Ray, and the MRC 491 driver looking smooth as he comes into the pits. But meanwhile, what's smooth about this? Because James Howarth and Kenneth Baird getting ready to fight with Daniel Mellor just up the road. Howarth needs to make this move because he is a pit stop ahead of Baird, and well, making the way up the hangar straight into a stow, goes to the inside, and the MJ Racetech driver, I think, being given the space there by the Quench driver. It gives him all the line to the inside, and now the outside of the Vale. And will we see Baird back off? He does indeed, and very respectful there to James Howarth. Lets him go at the time he chooses to do so. He had no expectation they were battling for position, but I think Baird realising the fact he's essentially a pit stop behind, so it offer him no opportunities to hold up his rival when they are in effect now what is a bit of a different race from each other. So Baird will focus on his race as he makes way onwards and going a bit deeper, making sure not to be caught by Scott Kostridge. That'll be his main target. But from there, we do come back to what is the GT4s and into the pits. Brad Pickett comes on in. So as he does, Joe Glass also into the pits, and so is Lewis Johnson. They're all in, and Johnson and Glass will both be looking to get repair work done to their cars, given the fact they've both got damage from instance to each other and other instances as well. And Brad Pickett being serviced there and not going up on the jacks, he's just simply taking fuel. And I think all the drivers will do so, because remember, with fuel and tyres being separate, once your fuel goes in, it's 2 seconds to get the car up onto the jacks, and it's 5 seconds per tyre. So in all, if you change all 4 tyres, it's an extra 22 seconds added to your pit stop. We sometimes will see, and we expect we will see in the endurance race rounds this season, is that drivers will most likely change 1 or 2 tyres, and it will normally be on the side of the car that takes the greater wear. So particularly here at Silverstone, you would change the left-hand side tyres because you've got more right-handers than left-handers at a clockwise circuit. So it's the outside tyres that do the hardest work for a corner, and particularly high-load corners, you're going to see tyre degradation really become a big theme. However, I think our drivers will try and brave it today with not changing a tyre, just because of how much time it's going to cost. But I have to wait and see whether it comes back to bite them a little bit later on. And well, we did see, of course, in the pre-season event for the GTEs, which we televised yesterday, the race was, of course, last Friday, the tyre changes over 1.5 hours definitely proved to be the difference for some drivers, particularly in the Inter and the club classes there, less so in Pro. But here we've got drivers only in single driver classes in terms of the cars, so therefore it may be a lesser differentiator, given everyone, of course, running identical setups. But as Daniel Miller has James Huff still behind, and Miller keeping at bay for now, pitting 1 lap later. And started 12th, made his way up into 6th place. Well, James Howarth gets him ready for a potential move, but is it going to come forward? The answer is no. And if I'm a racing driver here, definitely feeling what is that pressure, but Howarth as well, really being pushed to try and find a move when he can. As the sun shines down on the cars, I can imagine how hot it will be in the virtual cockpit, as much as it will be in the sim rigs right now for our drivers. Do look to the weather on the right side of your screen. And as you can see there, we've got relatively cool conditions. 19 degrees centigrade ambient, 24 degrees centigrade track temperature, and we do keep our conditions as cool as possible here at SimRacing International, so our drivers don't have to worry about the circuit becoming a proverbial ice rink because the circuit temperature is too hot. But as we do put the temperatures away, well, it's pit stop season for GT4s, and Brian Beardsworth here chasing after Andrew Fellows, the Coca-Cola machine right now, definitely trying to find its way past this fellow GPX Sim Sport car. And will he be able to make this work here as he comes on down? The answer will be yes, he will, but because Fellows ducks into the pit lanes, they're on alternating strategies, and will Beardsworth going another lap, as is Jack Wyborn. But as he carries on, well, Brandon Dyer being serviced here, car still taking on fuel. And, well, the refueling rate of the GT4 is a little bit slower, we believe, compared to your GT3s. And Brandon Dyer, in the end, leaves his pit box. And this is going to put him at the front of all those who have pitted in GT4 as Brian Beardsworth carries on. So right now, the GPX Simsport Xenon driver keeping his head down and continue to push on as much as he possibly can. But coming up behind these drivers will be Alex Fretwell, who leaves his pit box. Also Noah Kelly, also Rowan Pownyer. And Rowan Pownyer right now a bit further back, in fact, almost to the back there of Noah Kelly's car. But, of course, the LS Racing driver will get off the limiter first. So it opens the gap up a little bit, as we do see them making their way onwards, and hold the phone because Brad Pickett comes on through, and he pitted a lap earlier, and Brad Pickett jumps ahead of Noah Kelly. So on strategy, he goes the undercut in number 13, and for the dexterous Motorsports driver, that works out. That gets him ahead of Noah Kelly. He was previously behind him as they make their way onwards. Right now, a bit more work to do there for Pickett. He'll want to go chasing after Alex Fretwell, and he'll be hoping that he's got the pace now to really close the gap, particularly on this first lap, where Fretwell is on cold tyres. Tyres have lost temperature. He hasn't changed the tyres, but he has lost tyre temperature by being in the pits for so long, and the DXT Motorsports driver would need to capitalise on that. Now, Jack Wyborn, an interesting one there. We know there's a few of you cheering this man on, the 491. He has yet to pit, as we do show you the number of pit stops that have been made by drivers. And this puts you in the feel of what exactly is going on strategy-wise. And there we can see the proof in the pudding, which is no pit stop made by Wyborn so far, neither for Brian Beardsworth, and we were to come at some point. The same in GT3 for none other than Charlie Devlin, and also Kenneth Baird and Scott Kostridge. But otherwise, most drivers now have made at least one strategic pit stop, and Jack Wyborn comes into pit lane, so he's going to get this pit stop done and dusted, just like that, on call. And as he makes his way on down pit road, what's it going to be for him in terms of where does this put him back out? We suspect he'll be targeting to be inside the top 5 if he's made up the time, given the earlier incident. And well, in parallel, we have had a bit of difficulty for this man, Patrick Fred, as the Graham Smart Sport driver heads onwards. But as he keeps his head down here, let's try and find out what exactly happened to him only moments ago. So this was Patrick Ferret, the Kratos Motorsport driver, in a free wide there with his teammate in GT3 and also the car of Dexter's Motorsport, and in the end wins the braking zone and came in very hot, and Ross Young being collected there as well. Now some will be asking, can we get an alternative camera angle on that? We get a bit of an alternative one here. Now Ross Young went to the brakes here. I think Patrick's outbroken himself into that corner because he's coming quite hot when Ross has tried to go around the outside. I think it's a bit of miscommunication between the two cars as well. A bit unfortunate between them. It does, of course, buy what will be Ben Bennyworth some space, but that won't be the way he wanted to have got it. As Jack Wyborn leaves the pit lane as we come back to your live racing. Where does this bring him out, however? It brings him out in 5th place, right behind Noah Kelly. Well, we said he'd be trying to get into the top 5. He's made it there, and he's squeezed ahead of Robin Pownier. So Wyborn going the longest of anybody in GT4, alongside Brian Beardsworth, has gained time. Meanwhile, Joe Glass and Lewis Johnson are at it once again, and well, the last time they were side by side, it went a bit wrong, and Lewis Johnson this time trying to take the place over on track. He tried to beat Glass on strategy, didn't work out, and now, well, Johnson getting ahead there. Lovely move in towards Village, but here's Glass here just playing what is a temporary alliance and saying essentially, we're getting the fact we've got 10 seconds between us and Robin Pownier, and we are the quicker drivers by comparison when we're in clear air. Well, what's the point fighting? But of course, no points on the line here today, so they may as well fight as much as they may as well consider trying to close up. It'll come down to individual discretion of drivers. As Glass looks up the inside of Johnson, goes a return move there, but goes very deep under braking, and in the end, Lewis Johnson makes the switch back there. Lovely line there from the British driver to hold his position as they come through into the pits off camera, by the way. Kenneth Baird and Scott Kostrich, they're taking their scheduled stops, but Charlie Devlin going even longer right now. Devlin has yet to pit. He is your GT3 leader, and he's trying to extract as much of a lead as possible in clear air before he forces himself into the pits. But Lewis Johnson right now holding on the national straight. Glass looking one way then the other, doesn't quite work out. Now what of course you have to keep in mind with these GT4s is they do have ABS and traction control, but they're less advanced systems compared to their GT3 counterparts, and you never really want to trigger the ABS in any car, GT3 or GT4, but particularly in these GT4s you want to avoid it like the plague, because yes, it will save you from locking up the brakes, but what it will also do is it will invoke a huge amount of understeer, and it will cook the front tyres very quickly. So the only time you want to trigger the ABS is perhaps a small trigger on initial braking, but you really need to trail the brakes as best as possible, much like in the real racing cars. The ABS is there in case you get it wrong under braking, and the idea being that essentially it is your backup for when you come into a very heavy braking zone and you do have to really pump the brakes hard. The same with the traction control system. You never want to trigger it, but it is there to limit wheel spin when required. And we do know the traction control on the GT3 McLaren that we see here, a very powerful traction control system, multiple settings there, and it has sensitivity to both engagement in terms of when does it engage versus the wheel spin of the car, the rear tyres, and also how much of a cut it applies to the rear wheels. And you can adjust that from levels of what is 1 through to, well, from 0 through to 11, I do believe, in the car. But right now, looking to cut his way through, that is going to be Joey Ireland there, as Charlie Devlin has been into the pits, and in fact, as Joey Ireland makes his way through, there is Devlin. So Devlin has leapt ahead of Joey Ireland on strategy, and he's just simply recovered his way through by going the longest of everybody, and well, his previous lap was the best part of 2 seconds quicker compared to Joey Ireland, and Charlie Devlin right now absolutely flying for future class racing, and well, this man definitely seeing the future, some would say, as he roars his way onwards. But as he does so, getting closer to the back there while the GT4s find some traffic. And that's the number 90 comes up behind there of Steve Nix, and well, that is not where he wants to catch him at all. That's going to cost him time, and he finds some more GT4s in front of him. That's Pownier attacking Noah Kelly. So this is going to be a bit difficult. And by the way, Wyborn has found his way past Noah Kelly. We will get a replay of that very shortly to show you how he did that. You can see the proof there as he makes his way down the national straight. Now Charlie Devlin cuts us about the inside there of Kelly. Robin Pownier behind, but understeers a bit wide in towards Cops Bend, and well, unfortunately for Robin Pownier will have to regroup. But how did Wyborn pass Kelly? Here's the replay. So this was coming out of Aintree. It was a poor run from Noah Kelly off the loop for Aintree, who went wide, and Wyborn on the inside here. But he had to be brave about this and go all in for the move. And did he get it done into that braking zone? Yes, he did. Kelly did not have a response and didn't try to go too wide to left field to get that inside line back. Lovely move being made there by Jack Wyborn. But we do come back, and as we do, still more action to come, no doubt about it. Daniel Mellor, by the way, still keeping James Howarth and Ray Howell at bay. And, well, the point being here, the fact that Ray Howell is not the closest car in that sequence. In fact, he's a bit further back for MRC 491, and Scottson right now trying to chase after James Howarth as best he possibly can. But the lap times, well, the last lap he was a second faster. He may get this done, and we catch up to the back there of the car of James Bostock, picking up a distant tow, and will very quickly gains 1 or 2 miles an hour more on the straight. But, of course, the GT4s will gain getting a bit more on the toe versus the GT3s, and they do effectively have a very similar top end speed, but a lot more engine power for the GT3. It gets to top speed a lot quicker, and to put you in the frame, you are looking at the GT3 machines with the 10% power increase, having just shy of 600 brake horsepower at the rear wheels, and will the base McLaren 720S, before you put any restrictor plates in it, for those curious, with its engine, it can run up to about 750 brake horsepower in real life, and then for GT3 racing, the balance performance restrictor plates are put into the engine essentially. With the GT4, you are looking at a package out there, as Brandon Dyer makes one around, with the 10% power increase of around 430 to 450 brake horsepower. Well, that is similar to the power that is run by the car on the road essentially. And well, as a GT4 driver makes one around, right now the Ultra3M Esports leader, Brandon Dyer, he is definitely looking very much on course here for that win. The best part of 11 seconds clear of Alex Fretwell at the moment. As he does so, we look back to Robin Pownyer, and well, the Simcoe driver still trying to push on, but just behind, Joseph Glass still fighting with Lewis Johnson. He's not giving up in this battle, and well, these two really giving each other everything they can, and well, Joseph Glass there getting a little bit twitchy on corner exit, but with both cars having taken their faster pairs most likely, well, right now they'll be clean cars, and they'll be back to it as best they possibly can, as we can see the number 10 getting ready to attack into Cops, but he gets a face full of 15 as he runs very deep into the corner there, understeers out wide, and Glass again, just a bit too eager, but I think pressured by the arrival of the 5M Racing GT3 there of Daniel Miller, and that may have just goaded him into a little bit of an error, but either way, right now, Joseph Glass definitely feeling the pinch, and look what's queuing up behind. That is going to be two of your GT3s, one of them a lap down, the other one on the lead lap, and that is going to be the car of James Howarth, and well, just in front of him, it will be the machinery of Ross Young. So therefore, Ross right now, well, in fact, it's James Howarth ahead of Ross Young. Let me correct myself there. And as they make the way onwards, well, Ross right now definitely trying to say to James Howarth, I want to come through, looking to unlap himself here, goes up the inside. And well, Ross here being a bit cheeky there. Is it going to work out for him? The answer is yes. And Howarth in the end backs off. And in fact, Howarth back into the pit lane. He's got a black flag. That's why he's coming into the pits. And that's for a drive-through penalty. 16 instant points. And in he comes. And sadly, that's going to demote him all the way down the field. That will be 35 seconds down the drain, if not a little bit more. As he makes his way down pit road. Meanwhile, we come back to Andrew Fellows, who's still chasing after the machine of Brian Beardsworth for 10th place in GT4. Good back and forth between these two. Let's wait and see who's going to take it here today. Right now, well, you would say that Brian Beardsworth is definitely looking to be the favourite, given he has got track position. It does seem as though both drivers very equal in pace, and it all comes down to who is behind the other, as to who's getting the quicker laps out there because of the slipstream. But as they make the way on to what for them is lap number 20 of the GT4 class race, well, the best part of half a lap up the road is the GT4 leader Brandon Dyer, and he is 11 seconds ahead of this man, Alex Fretwell, who is matched by the lap times of Brad Pickett, the third place driver. The Quench 9 figures of Pan from machine, being followed by the dexterous Motorsport 13. No change between them as meanwhile, Noah Kelly, he's making a move. There's a change here for 5th place, and I believe that's Robin Pownyer trying to make a move on Kelly here. And well, the LS Racing driver free wide there for a brief moment with the GT3 coming through, and well, they all survive it just about there, making the way through with Ross Young. And well, into that braking zone they go for Cops Corner, and Noah Kelly defending on the inside, and Pownier's going to go for the switchback here. Does he get the move, Pownyer? Well, he's going to get the momentum at least, going on to the run up towards what will be Maggots, and it's going to be too wide in towards that braking zone very shortly. Kelly on the outside and in the inside initially, then to the outside. Robin Pownyer squeeze on through, but Kelly in the end finds a way back to the outside. I'm trying to find a switchback line here as we ride on board with the 67 from the United Kingdom. And gets a great exit there off of Maggots, well, off of Beckett's, I should say. Through Chapel he goes. And right now, if he's a praying man, he'll definitely want to be thinking all religious thoughts. He makes his way onwards. He's going to be hoping he can make this move here. But if not, well, he'll be agnostic to it as he looks around the outside. And does he go for the move? He's going to try and set the switch back here. Pownyer goes very defensive and understeers off the apex. But Pownyer there gets the car through 75% of the corner before it drifts wide. Lovely line from him. And Noah Kelly in the end has to tuck back in. Does not work out. And Robin Pownyer up into 5th place in the GT4 class. But how did he start the move? Here's a quick replay at the beginning of the sequence. So this was as they made the way in towards Brooklands, and it was because Kelly was caught out a little bit there by the 5M Racing GT3 coming through, and Pownyer saw the door was open and said, right, I'm going to go for it, I'm not going to get another chance like this. And we'll look around the outside initially of Luffield, couldn't quite get it right there. Kelly on the tight line, however, couldn't get as much traction down. They were 3 wide, and the LS Racing driver in the end of Kelly holding to the inside as best he possibly could. But then Pownyer said, well, what about if I go around the outside? And well, all the attempt was in, but it didn't quite work out. Of course, he did make the move going through Maggots into Beckett. It was definitely this run here where Pownyer got the switch back, Lovely bit of momentum being carried. And outside to inside there and got the move complete as they made the way through turns 10 and 11. But with that, we're back to your live racing. As we do come back, final quarter of this race still to go, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty more exciting action to come. Well, this is all said and done. And what do you need to know, or what's perhaps changed in the background that we're not immediately aware of? Well, right now, Robin Pan and Owen Kelly definitely getting closer together. Lewis Johnson and none other than Joe Glass. They seem to have formed a little bit of a proverbial truce, as they do have GT3 swarming them left, right and centre. Left, right and centre. Well, that is a very twitchy GT3 there, making its way on through, and I believe that is going to be the number 20 car there of what is Jordan Maymar. In fact, no, we've lost the number 20 car. My apologies. It's out of the race there, trying to discern who that was. I don't think that was Kenneth Bird making his way onwards. But either way, I can tell you one thing, definitely a very fast-charging driver out there, as we do look to Thomas Weston. That's the man in the twitchy GT3 for Nixon Weston. And right now, making his way on through. Lovely lever on that car there, and well, not one of my favourites necessarily. I'm not allowed to say favourites, to be fair. That would be very inappropriate, but definitely a very artistic livery. As your British driver comes on down. Well, definitely that art may catch the eyes of our judges as the season goes on with regards to the Best Livery Award, and of course those personalised mouse mats available for the team with the best livery as adjudged. As we do see Weston still chasing after James Howarth, trying to get closer, and he has closed up quite rapidly over the last couple of laps. The man had that drive-through penalty, so therefore Weston feels as though there could be a chance here for 7th place in GT3. And these two, no strangers to battling with each other, to be fair, find themselves battling in the Thursday GT3 Championship in the past, but right now Weston getting closer and closer as Howarth caught up there on Club Bend, and Weston does try to go through the middle, but then realises there's no space to do so, and backs out there going in towards Abbey. But this is where he can really apply the pressure as we run on board with your 23. They carve their way between the GT4s and getting ready to break his way then in towards the right-hander of turn number 3. But as he does so, Weston right now in the number 23, still looking on, still poking, prodding and probing, hoping he can find a way in for the move. But right now, just not quite coming to him. Surely there's going to be more to come as he heads onto the Wellington Straight. And Weston's going to regroup and get ready to attack again. As we still do have 12.5 minutes to go. Tyre wear is going to be a fault at the moment, and also the question is, have they taken enough fuel to make it to the end of the race unscathed on fuel capacity? Well, nobody wants to have to come in for a splash and dash right at the end, although we did see quite a lot of early pit stops from our GT3s. A lot of drivers opting to pit before the halfway mark, and here Charlie Devlin, who decided to go the best part of 38 minutes before he pitted. So different strategies for different folks out there, the same in the GT4s, as Weston in the end carves his way through. That's another GT4 car. But as they make their way onwards, well, we do see that Eva Winton saying doing a great job is Lewis, and that's in reference to Lewis Johnson. And indeed, it's been a bit of a tough one for him, given the fact he starts on pole, but that mistake, of course, cost him, and then that further contact between himself and Joe Glass setting him back. But based on the way he's driving right now, of course, we only have approximately half of your GT4 grid here today, and the same with our GT3s. But this is definitely a good gauge here. Lewis Johnson looking to be one of the more capable GT4 drivers out there out of the box. But of course, one of the things we have to keep in mind, and that's the great thing about a fixed setup championship such as the Transatlantic Trophy in these McLarens, is the fact that because everyone's running the same setup, those who are not quick in the car at the start of the season will get quicker as the season goes on, and you will see this gradual levelling of the field for, say, your Prime-esque drivers and your Pro drivers as you get towards the end of the season. It will become finer and finer margins that make the difference between each and every driver out there, and it will be really the best of the best that have to show that they can find the hundreds and thousands out there where others are finding the tenths that make the difference. But with that, we come back to James Howarth and Thomas Weston. They're getting close to each other once again. 11 minutes still on the clock, and right now Weston getting ready to potentially look for a move. However, that opening sequence of corners, turns 1 through to 3, is not close enough. In fact, Howarth the quicker driver of the two of them there. And well, we'll have to wait and see what Weston can do on the exit of the loop. He does actually get a better run as they roar the way through Aintree. And there you can see that gap now, down to 3 attempts and closing as they power the way in towards what we left into right of Brooklands into Luffield shortly. Here they go, but Weston so far back there. If he was going to make a move from that distance, I can tell you one thing, that would be brave, it would be audacious, and in fact, I think we could all say that's going to be the move of the season being made right there and then, but he does not dare go for it, and I think James Howarth would know that wasn't going to happen, but a much stronger run there out of Luffield for Thomas Weston. He's really pushing those track limits at the moment, using every millimetre of the tarmac, and to be fair, if he's paid to be here, he's going to use every millimetre, and he comes in towards the right-hander right now of Copse Corner. well, still just having to wait a bit. 3 attempts there as he comes off the corner, but Weston right now really getting himself dialed in here. And well, this is a better move. It's going to come, but it will come at the very last moment as we ride aboard with him. Chops it to the inside and looking for that doorway. It's going to put him offline there. And Howarth in the end, well, almost put off or thrown off by it. Capture the GT4 coming out the corner. Here it comes then. Weston's got an opportunity. This will be his closest chance. They power the way onwards. 1.5 attempts becomes a 10th as they make the way out towards Stowe. And right now, Weston looking to the inside. Howarth comes off the middle of the road. Weston goes all in the brakes. And Howarth in the end just holds the door shut as they come over the apex of Stowe corner. And Weston right now still poking, still prodding as they get ready to go into the braking zone here for the Vale. But is Weston going to throw a dummy? He is. He's going to send it to the inside. Now, does he get it stopped in time? He does. And for Thomas Weston, what a move that is. A brilliant dummy. And James Hurd being caught out by in the end, just rolling on the brakes. They're trailing off to move the car back to the inside, but he hits the inside wall as we sing his praises. And the contact curve strikes for the first time this season for Thomas Weston. I don't believe it. And the Nixon Weston driver who made that lovely move. And in the end, it all goes to the wall. And well, as it does so, he drops down behind Howarth, but he still does have a bit of a gap to Scott Kostrich. As meanwhile, and picking up the pieces with regards to battling, we do have here none other than Brad Pickett and Jack Wyborn fighting over third place. And Wyborn has been closing that gap down by the best part of 7 to 8 attempts a lap in the last 3 laps. He is flying out there. Here's Wyborn. This is incredibly impressive between the two drivers. And right now, can Wyborn make this work out? We will see. Because, of course, he's got this lap plus at least another 3, if not 4 more. And, well, the 491 driver here would like to make this happen as Brad Pickett goes a bit wide. Wyborn there looking to the inside. But as we ride on board, we have 491. Well, the thing is, now that he's in the draft, 2 attempts and closing, and Pickett knows that, pulls over immediately, going defensive, then brings it back onto the racing line. He'll get 1 move into a braking zone. He gets away with it that time, in that Wyborn's too far back, but of course, he's then got to pick a line if Wyborn gets any closer, and we're coming in towards Luffield right now. Wyborn here really trying to size off move, and you can see there, Pickett has to keep applying the brakes very soft, and you see the brake lights going very briefly, and what he's doing there, essentially, Pickett, is he's feathering the brake, where he's got his foot just slightly over the pedal, and he's just holding it there, and then just dabbing a little bit, just to help the front end rotate. That's normally a sign that you've got a driver running more rearward brake bias when you have those little taps of brake mid-quarter, because what he's essentially doing is trying to get the rear brakes to lock and unlock themselves, or apply and unapply themselves, and it will just kick the rear of the car round a little bit more. Whereas more forward brake bias, you normally lead into the corner where you're braking, whereby the front brakes will do all the hard work. You're at risk of understeering into the corner, but once you've got the car stopped, you shouldn't need to brake anymore, but you still need to channel off those brakes smoothly, as otherwise you will really get a wall of understeer. As they power the way out of Chapel Bend right now. Well, you can see here Wyborn within 2 attempts, but as these GT4s head up to top gear, coming in 5th, shortly going into 6th. They do have 7 gears, but we'll never see them reach 7th gear at this circuit. Well, looking for the move on the inside, and Wyborn goes all in. Now, has he placed his chips correctly as they come through the corner? He does get ahead initially, and well, in the end, Brad Pickett tucks back in behind. A lovely move from Wyborn, and we're coming down the braking zone here towards the Vale, and will there be a return move? Not quite, but meanwhile behind, battle between Pioneer and Noah Kelly. Kelly back on the attack here. We've got a black flag for Brian Beardsworth. That will be a drive-through penalty for instant points. The same for Scott Kostrich. And one fortune for both drivers there, as I believe Kostrich and Gareth Newton swapping places. Gareth Newton on the inside. No, that's Scott Kostrich on the inside. Kostrich on the run in towards turn number 15 right now. But knowing, of course, he's got a drive-through, and he will let the place go to Gareth Newton at some point, but not on this lap. He'll do it on the next lap. I think he wants to enjoy the fight a little bit more, and that drive-through penalty must be served within 3 laps of it being awarded, as Isaac will be upgraded to a disqualification from the race. That's the iRacing shooting system, not our rule set there with regards to how it gets converted. As Gareth Newton takes the place of Kostrich, a lovely move from him. And meanwhile, Robin Pan is still fending off Noah Kelly just about. One of the big battles right now out there. Indeed, our battles have gone a little bit quiet. However, we've still got some excitement to come with 6 minutes left on the clock. Indeed, this is just a taste, of course. Remember, we've only got half the field here for this pre-season Media Day event. I'm sure we're going to see even more drivers out there when we do come to what will be round number 1, with a grand total of 30 teams, 60 drivers out there, plus their reserves. It is definitely going to be packed. But of course, we won't be seeing the reserve drivers on the grid with their 2 lead drivers, unless one of the lead drivers, of course, does need to step out for that round. We won't have an absolute free-for-all there. And therefore, as we do see Robin Pioneer make his way onwards, the sim coach driver, what we'll be thinking about right now is maintaining that gap. He has opened up a second there to Noah Kelly, and looking very good at it. Meanwhile, well, the barbecue bread of racing car has gone around. The number 72 is Jean Breitenbach, and what's happened to cause that? So, make his way through it. At the time, he was running in third, being chased by Ben Bennyworth. made his way through Village in towards the loop he went. As he did so, came a bit too late on the brakes there, downshifted, and as he did so, oh goodness me, that was a little bit of intermittent netting, or intermittent internet there for Ben Bennyworth. And John Brady's about making sure to avoid the discontinuous Quetmass Motorsport car, but a mistake of his own there, and Bennyworth gets it on through. So John Braithwaite now will have some work to do if he wants that third place spot on the podium. I see him close that down. 1.5 seconds is the gap between now and the finish line. Although Barbecue Prep Racing Driver will keep on pushing as best he can as he makes his way in towards the next braking zone. But as he comes on through the corners, right now he's picking his way past the GT4 there of Andrew Fellows and makes quick work of him. That always will potentially disrupt just a little bit of time. And going back to Charlie Devlin, he is losing 2 tenths a lap at the moment to Joey Ireland. However, given the fact he does have a 6.7 second gap, you can see Ireland in the rear of the picture. The Future Cast Racing Driver will feel quite safe as we look back to your second place man, who in turn has an 8 second gap to Ben Bennyworth. And right now, he's definitely going to need to carve a lot more time down here, does Ireland, if he wants to get this all said and done, take the win. And well, will require a mistake from Charlie Devlin most likely, as he tries heading around. But as they do, well, still a little bit of time left in this race, and your leader in GT4, Brandon Dyer, right now looking very secure here for the win, given he is currently matching the pace of Alex Fretwell, who has gained a little bit over the last couple of laps, but it's only by a tenth, and that's why we say they're really matching right now. A tenth's nothing when you do have a 12-second gap, and so Brandon Dyer will be hoping he can just bring this home. Alex Fretwell, meanwhile, there is the Quench 9 Pegasus Pan for a Berry Crush car, and as he comes on through the right hand there of Woodcott, the 152 driver here, keeping it smooth, keeping it composed, and we're coming on through that right hander as smoothly as he can. Just a simple reason that right now doesn't want to make any mistakes and does not want to see any penalties just before the very end. With Jack Wyborn, well, Wyborn matching the lap times of your top two, but not surpassing them by that much, and therefore it is looking to be a third place for him, although Brad Pickett is still within a second. You can see Pickett in the rear of the picture, and he still wants to try and get involved if he can. Now, we have sadly lost Ross Young from this race in the GT3 class and Jordan Maymart, so therefore we are now down 4 GT3s. From our 15 starters, we're now down to 11 runners. Scott Koshich with the black flag, and I do believe that's for speeding in the pit lane after taking his drive-through penalty. So unfortunately, he's going to make another trip to the pit lane as Kostrich, and this time it will be I believe it's a stop and hold for speeding into the pit. And well, Scott Kostrich unfortunately can't get enough of the pit lane, it would seem, whether he wants to or not. But as we do see Noah Kelly still chasing after Rowan Pownier. Well, great battle back and forth between these two throughout the race. And Kelly there have a little bit of oversteer as he makes his way off a Stowe corner. The rear of the car starting to feel a little bit loose now. Oh, goodness me. And that is Lewis Johnson getting it wrong in the rear of the picture. The Quench 9 Pegasus Panther Blue Raspberry car goes around, doesn't lose a place. However, his tyres will be hot as Joe Glass does exactly the same. Well, I don't think we can put oil down there, ladies and gents, and that's not simulated on iRacing, but that would normally be the sign in real life racing. There's a substance to sank at the corner if they both make the same mistake. But what exactly happened there to Lewis Johnson? Here's a replay. As this was on board, let's listen in. And I think on the downshift there from fourth to third, came down the gearbox a bit too quickly and it actually overspanned the rear tyres, and Lewis Johnson going on a round as a result. And well, Joe Glass doing the same as he made his way in. We ride on board here with the man who was chasing. And the rear of the car cutting loose on him there as he made his way in. The rear let go. He understeered initially, and as he then downshifted to third to try and settle the car back down, that overspanned the rear tyres and led to him actually going for the spin. So in the end, Glass may have been a little bit happier to perhaps stayed in fourth, but of course, a bit of a learning experience there. And remember, this will be the first time that all these drivers have driven these cars on the iRacing simulator with the extra power and the less weight. And that's the thing as well, when you take 50 kilograms out of these McLarens, we end up doing, these cars have a lot of weight towards the rear by default. You are suddenly making that rear end, it's still the heaviest part of the car, but you are making it a little bit lighter. And with suddenly the pendulum effect or the swing and the steer with the rear as it's known, mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars, you essentially use the throttle pedal to plant the engine down and get the best possible traction out the corners and the best possible rotation. Suddenly that rear is going to come around even more aggressively, particularly as tyre life becomes an increasingly detrimental factor, whereby the tyres of all these drivers will definitely be well past their prime right now as they are on the sets they started the race with. I don't think anybody has opted to change tyres in the pit lane, although saying that, if they have, we're not seeing any signs of it in terms of lap times. So Joe Glass picks up another instant point. By running wide there, and unfortunately for him, he picks up a drive-through penalty, and Lewis Johnson has picked one up as well for instant points, so therefore Glass is definitely going to pick up that penalty, and we'll see the two swap back, as meanwhile, here's your race leader with 10 seconds left to go, and we're on lap 30, so that means surely we will now get a 31st lap here as Charlie Devlin makes one through, the white flag begins to wave, and Devlin goes one more time here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for this pre-season race meet, and we're a 7.2 second gap versus Joey Ireland, and Ireland that time only gained 2 tenths on him. Surely right now, but Charlie Devlin, he's just got to hold his ground as Ireland picks his way past Robin Powney, who steps aside. Ben Bennyworth 7.8 seconds behind, not looking too close either, but Bennyworth does gain a bit of a gap there on Ireland. He gained some time on him, given that Ireland had to carve his way past GT4 traffic. Joe Glass into pit lane up the commentary booth window to take his drive-through penalty. John Breitemack 6 tenths behind. He's still trying to have a run at this versus Bennyworth. I think he feels though he can there as he gets the better run coming off of the loop, but is it too late? He needs to really be within 3 tenths as they power the way along. I have to see what he can do. Scott Kostrich is into the pit lane for his drive-through penalty. And Joe Glass makes one down. Lewis Johnson comes on through, and so does James Bostock. So the GPX Since Onyx drive picks up a place there off of Joe Glass as a result of their drive-through, and then he does have to yield a bit of space on the road there to the machinery of Ray Howell, who comes on through there in 6th place of GT3s at the moment. Everything seems to be mostly done and dusted with regards to the battles at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. The only close drivers out there who are within real proper attacking distance to each other, maybe Brad Pickett attacking Wyborn right at the end. Although right now, if Pickett's going to make this happen, that would be definitely a turn around, as I'm hearing that Joe Glass has actually had to tow to the pit lane due to an issue with the car and a further black flag. Well, something's gone wrong there when he's come into the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what, but perhaps he sped into the pits while serving the drive-through. But meanwhile, as we do see Charlie Devlin make his way up through the run of the hangar straight in towards Stowe. Well, it hasn't been the most straightforward race here. Of course, it's had its ups and downs, Charlie Devlin. But to be fair, after the early incident on lap number 4, he's then never looked back. He's really charged through. He went for the overcut strategy and gained a lot of time that took him back into the lead ahead of Joey Ireland. As he makes his way out the final quarter, it will be Charlie Devlin who takes victory here at Silverstone in the GT3 class and overall for the pre-season event in the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1. And then we will shortly see, come through behind him, Joey Ireland, your run-up there for Altitude Frame Esports, enjoying a solid run with Ben Bennyworth coming on through to take 3rd place in GT3. Just behind him, that is going to be Jack Wyborn holding on to the final podium spot of GT4. We did see Alex Fretwell come through just beforehand, and there is Alex Fretwell cooling the car and down. And then we will have Jean Breitemack making his way on around, cooling down in 4th place of GT3, with Daniel Mellor still doing some work here to come through in 5th place in the GT3 class as well. The 5M Racing driver makes his way out to the corner and comes to line, and what a solid drive from him, taking that top 5, 9.5 seconds ahead of Ray Howell. And we do see here heading towards the line, and one of the Scotsmen doing a great job there as he comes on through for that 6th place. Just behind him, we will see, I believe, a couple of cars coming through, including Lewis Johnson, who takes 7th place in GT4. Not the result he wanted today, but we'll build upon that. James Bostock there comes on through in 8th in GT4, as do see Scott Kostrich coming through behind him there, 11th in the GT3 class. Still got Tom Weston to make his way to the finish. Here he comes, Thomas Weston for Nick Weston. And we're coming across the line there. We will see Andrew Fellows, your 9th place finish in GT4, just ahead of Weston's 8th place GT3. And we've still got a couple more drivers to finish this race, including Brian Beardsworth. He makes his way to line for GPX Sinsport Xenon in 11th place in GT4. And then we will have the machinery of Patrick Forret, who comes on through on Grandmaster Motorsport, and the Chiquia driver, well, he will be heading to line very soon. And we've still got one more GT4 driver on the lead lap to finish the race. That is your leader, who's been able to go one extra lap compared to all the other GT4s, given the way the GT3 traffic has worked out with them. But there we see our Grandmaster Motorsport 48 driver, Patrick Forret, come across the line in 12th. Well, very shortly, we will get to see Steve Nix coming through. In fact, he's already come through there, the next Western driver, 15th place in GT4 today. And then your last finisher is going to be your GT4 winner. It is going to be Brandon Dyer for Altitude Frame Esports. And when we saw Lewis Johnson and Jack Wyborn both get it wrong early on, Brandon Dyer made sure not to get it wrong, because 2 wrongs don't make a right. But for Brandon Dyer, keeping it on the road, it's all right on the night, as we say, as the 58 driver comes across the line and celebrates for a spin, avoids the barrier as well. And will parallel parks it's the barrier there, and will be absolutely ecstatic as he gets out of the car. But goodness me, ladies and gents, what a pre-season of race. That was full of excitement from start to finish, no doubt about it. And without further ado, let's take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And of course, we begin with your GT3 class for the SimRacing International Transatlantic Trophy Season 1 here in the pre-season event at Silverstone. And as we can see in GT3, Charlie Devlin taking a victory for Future Class Racing by 8.4 seconds ahead of Joey Ireland, home to make that major recovery drive after the incident on lap number 4. But in the end, by going long and overcutting the field, he gained a swing of 5 seconds in the pit lane, which added to his ferocious lap times, enabled him to come out ahead and extend that gap to Joey Ireland all the way to the end. Joey Ireland taking second place there for Altitude Frame Esports. Won't be too upset to be the runner-up today, given the way things have played out, and given he started 5th, and we'll know there's a bit more work to do if he wants to close the pace to the leaders, but at least he's shown his consistency. It's going to prove very invaluable. Ben Bennyworth taking 3rd there for Quackmass Motorsport. And the British driver there completes an all-British podium at the British circuit. And, well, he just managed to hold off John Brayton-Mack for Barbecue Bread Racing, whose late spin at the loop definitely threw away his chances of a 3rd place finish. But still, the South African driver put on a phenomenal offensive in the sense display throughout the race, particularly towards the end of the opening stint, where he had to hold his ground. In 5th, we had Daniel Mellor, who was the best part there, with 21 seconds behind for 5M Racing, but 10 seconds ahead of MRC 491's Ray Howell. And, well, Chris Keenan enjoyed that from both drivers, Ray and Jack. And saying the MRC 493 OAP team, we'll see you in round number 1, because we have 2 MRC teams, or MRC Endurance teams, the 491 team and also the 493 team. And I do believe the 493 drives slightly older compared to their younger counterparts. James, however, taking 7th there for MJ Race Tech, not the way he wanted it to go, given he was on course for a top 5 and a chance at the podium, but it went a bit backwards as the race went on, particularly that drive-through penalty. And Thomas Weston, the final lead lap finisher in GT3 there for Nix and Western. It was a lap down for Gareth Newton for GPX SimSport Xenon, as it was for Kenneth Baird. And to be fair, the Quench 9 Pixels Panther drive with the Berry Crush team did a good job of trying to fight his way forward, but run out of time to close down Gareth Newton. Scott Kostrich, in the end, finished his race in the pit lane after a drive-through and a subsequent stop-and-go penalty. But the Dexterous Motorsports driver not the Dexterous Motorsports driver, the GPX SimSport Vertex driver classified a lap down. And then Ross Young was 6 laps down there. He was your last retirement from the race, but he will be classified as a finisher for Dexterous Motorsports. Head to the retirees of Jordan Maymar, Bill Daniels, and sadly Leighton Austin, who we lost midway through, I believe, due to a technical issue when he was in control of the race, and looking to take the fight to Charlie Devlin, potentially for sim coached by Glass Tip Racing. Then to the GT4 class we go. And here in GT4, we got to see Brandon Dyer bring on home the win for Altitude Frame Esports. And, well, in the end, he may not have started on pole position in the class, but he definitely made sure to make it count. As his rivals made mistakes, he did not. And he was the only driver to finish with what was 29 laps achieved, whereas the rest of the field finished on 28 or less laps. So that's why he's classified as a lap ahead of the field. So Alex Fretwell was in second there for Quench 9 Pixels Pan for a Berry Crush, and did well to make sure that Jack Wyborn didn't get close in the late stages, and was able to match the pace of Dyer as the race went on and tyres became more and more warm. Jack Wyborn recovered well to 3rd place after his early incident for MRC 491, putting on some brilliant moves, including that on Brad Pickett, who settled for 4th, just fine for Dexterous Motorsports. And in 5th, it was Robin Pownier for Sim Coach, completing that top 5 in his race-long battle with Noah Kelly. The LS Racing driver losing out versus the smiling Swede, but both will be smiling after their brilliant action. Lewis Johnson recovered to 7th in the end, but definitely not representative of what he was potentially able to do, given, of course, he did have those 2 incidents, particularly that one with Joe Glass that upset his race. But the Quench 9 Pixels Pan for a Blue Raspberry driver definitely will be one to watch out for at Indianapolis in the season opener. James Bostock took 8th place there for GPX SimSport Onyx, ahead of the GPX SimSport Vertex machine of Andrew Fellows, and Patrick Heynen completing your top 10 there for Barbecue Bread Racing, just ahead of Brian Beardsworth was best dressed in 11th place for GPX SimSport Xenon. Patrick for it was the last of the drivers to finish a lap down as classified in the GT4 class of Quackmass Motorsport, and 2 laps down it was none other than Joseph Glass for sim coached by Glass Tech Racing with his late drive-through, and then his subsequent stop and the hold at full speed in the pit lane, and also it's 2 laps down for Gavin Corby for Gazmax Racing, and we did have retirement for Steve Nix, although the Nix and Western driver will be classified as a finisher, but not quite so for Robin Aston, as he didn't complete enough laps to be within classified finishing distance for 5M Racing. But with that, ladies and gents, that concludes our rundown of the provisional results for GT3 and GT4, and what a race it has been here today. But as our circuit falls silent, fret not, because our broadcast will only fall silent for a brief moment, as we're going to step away for approximately 5 minutes, and we'll be back after that to bring you some post-round interviews of our drivers and get to hear their thoughts on the season ahead and the racing we've had here today at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in the UK. And it's lights out and away we go for our season opener as Sardply gets a good start, but look alongside him and you'll see there Milton Tomlinson Dennis immediately going the attack into the braking zone. One drive into the grass already, that's Mikey Story, but three wide they come into the opening corner. That's a bold move there. William Humphrey makes the place as they make the way through in towards turn number 2. I think the Altitude 3M Esports driver here might just be fancying his chances once again as they come into the braking zone now for turn number 1, and as they make the way from right into left, well, Hayden Miller here side by side with him. They'll go all the way through to turn number 3, and Saunders does take the place there. That's for overall position, not for pro position. Saunders is the pro leader, but he goes a bit deep there at 3 to the inside of 4 then, and Miller right now enjoying this. Saunders enjoying it. A little bit of rub and contact between the two of them, but nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind between the two Fords, for the Ford and the Corvettes, the two Americans I should say. And
with those two Evo drivers in front of them, they're just, they're realistically in a completely different race. They're just a barrier up towards the likes of Rubino and Wendell. Oh, there's Rubino going off the road, and here comes James Bostock, past 1, past 2. This is a great little move from James.
Oh, and look behind him as well. Hardiak, up high. He decides to come back down low. But Denny Plurger has really lost a lot of ground here. He's lost 7 places since the start of this race in that green Porsche. But look at this for the lead. Hammond wants it. He's gone back down the inside. He got off the brakes again to let the car down the inside of Rob Mackay. And you said Rob was going to be clinging on at the front. And now he's clinging on to second. Great move by Lewis Hammond. Really good committed stuff. And look, down the inside, Richard White. He wants a piece of this in the Porsche. He's got James Bostock.
And it's lights out and away we go here as Mirko Bortolotti goes exactly on the green, and as they roar the way down towards turn number 1, Martin Statman side by side with him, but look behind Tim Perry under pressure and Miguel Leon immediately as the Enosis Esports driver tries to put the pressure on. Further back we've got 3, 4 wide, they're all in the crush as they come through the opening bay. Look back for the rear of your second place runner Statman, and Statman right now for the Gazix Racing team. What he's trying to do here I think now is just hold on to second, and if needed he may have to act as a bit of a buffer and perhaps sacrifice a little bit of his race for the race leader here, although Bortolotti, to be fair, I think might be holding some pace back. But here comes Lux in the tow in towards what we roller coaster they come with the Virginian corkscrew. It's left into right very quickly here as they both make the way, and it's 2 wide on entry, but Lux gets ahead. It's up into second now, as it will be Martin Statman falling down to 3rd, but Callum Lux does clear another one, and now only one car is between him and an opportunity of victory here tonight. Which is Perry going to make the move, or I'm going to have to make the move for him? Well, there's your answer. Perry's going to go on the inside here of Dean into the braking zone. Edwards gets to watch it from the popcorn seat view. Perry there being 2 wide on exit. Dean's going to try and hang around the outside. Does Edwards think about going up the inside as well? He gets himself ready for it in case there's contact, but there's not. Perry there being fair. Dean tucks back in behind. Lovely move there from Tim Perry. And I think meanwhile Beardsworth will hope they don't get close up in time, as Beardsworth's going to look up the inside. He goes all in, and it's from very far back. He gets it stopped, however, and Beardsworth there nails the move, but Tillison's going to come back at him up the hill. Does he go in on the brakes here? This is bold to do it on the inside. No, he does not. And Brian Beardsworth at the end, he gets it wrong. He goes out wide at turn number 6. Tillison's going to be 2 wide with him, but 2 wide they're going to turn 7. Tillison goes on the switch back there. 9 is no way through, and in the end they come down towards turn number 8. Well, there Tillison backs off. He lets Hutchinson go around the outside, but is it the right call? And it's lights out and away we go for our season opener as Sardply gets a good start, but look alongside him and you'll see there Milton Tomlinson Dennis immediately going the attack into the braking zone. 1 drive into the grass already, that's Mikey Story, but 3 wide they come into the opening corner. That's a bold move there. William Humphrey makes the place as they make the way through in towards turn number 2. I think the Altitude 3M Esports driver here might just be fancying his chances once again as they come into the braking zone now for turn number 1, and as they make the way from right into left, well, Hayden Miller here side by side with him. They'll go all the way through to turn number 3, and Saunders does take the place there. That's for overall position, not for pro position. Saunders is the pro leader, but he goes a bit deep there at 3 to the inside of 4 then. And Miller right now enjoying this. Saunders enjoying it. A little bit of rub and contact between the two of them, but nothing wrong with a bit of bump and grind between the two Ford, for the Ford and the Corvette, the two Americans I should say. And
with those two ego drivers in front of them, because they're realistically in a completely different race, they're just a barrier up towards the likes of Rubino and Wendell. Oh, there's Rubino going off the road, and here comes James Bostock, past 1, past 2. This is a great little move from James.
Oh, and look behind him as well. Hardiek, up high. He decides to come back down low. But Denny Plurger has really lost a lot of ground here. He's lost 7 places since the start of this race in that green Porsche. But look at this, for the lead. Hammond wants it. He's gone back down the inside. He got off the brakes again to let the car down the inside of Rob Mackay. And you said Rob was going to be clinging on at the front. And now he's clinging on to second. Great move by Lewis Hammond. Really good committed stuff. And look.
Alrighty, ladies and gents, so without further ado, it is time to kick off our post-race interviews. And we're going to start off with our man who took victory today in the GT3 class, because joining me now in the interview room is none other than Charlie Devlin. Charlie, good evening to you. What a race that was, although it wasn't easy today.
Yeah, good bit of fun to have on a Wednesday evening. Obviously, it's only pre-season, so some of the extremely quick people didn't come. But yeah, just a good bit of fun. Obviously, the start was, as I always say, suboptimal. Obviously, spinning on cold tyres in front of Joey and then getting spun on lap 4. Yeah, wasn't ideal, but at the end of the day, I saw in quali that the pace was there, and at the end of the day, I was quick enough to get back to the lead again.
Oh, indeed. You were very rapid on that recovery. But just before we talk about the race, I've got to ask about the livery firstly. I mean, you've made me feel very hungry. Are those chicken nuggets on the car?
They are indeed. Yeah, the livery that we're actually running isn't finished yet. So I just went on trading paint and kind of found a meme livery. As it's pre-season, I thought, oh, why not? Let's have a bit of fun. So first thing that pops up, chicken nuggets, why not?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. But then coming down to more serious business, we did see you take pole position on I believe your final qualifying lap out there. Looked a very strong lap. And by the sounds of things, you might be using the simulator to get ready for some BMW racing at Silverstone in only a couple of weeks' time. I
am indeed. So currently I race in the BMW 116 Trophy Series under 750 Motor Club with 4040 Racing. And yeah, in a few weeks' time, going to Silverstone International for my 3rd weekend ever in cars. So, yeah, a lot of sim prep goes into it to make sure that you're on your A game when you turn up in real life. And it just shows from the good results that I've had in real life in that series, how close the sim actually is to real world. I think a lot of people underestimate it. And then when you turn up to the track and you're kind of straight on the pace, I think a lot of people are surprised, and they always go, "Oh, how are you always on the pace?" And I just go, "I just sit in my room all day on the sim." So, yeah, at the end of the day, the sim is extremely helpful for real life.
Oh, definitely proving useful there, and well, your experience on the sim shown with that pole lap. But then we did see, of course, it go wrong at the start of the races. We do catch a bit of your big slide going through Brooklands into Luffield. Cold tyres there, and I can imagine not helped perhaps by a lighter car and also a bit of a more powerful engine.
Yeah, it's definitely noticeable, that 10 extra kilos. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit weird to get your head around compared to the normal GT3, but at the end of the day, it's all a learning curve. A spin is just, at the end of the day, my mistake, misunderestimating how much grip I've actually got. But that's what these pre-season things are about. It's a chance for you to get to know your opponents, get to know the commentators, get to know what the people in the other classes are like, kind of what they're going to do on track, where they're going to end up. So yeah, it's all good fun.
Oh, and well, you had a lot of fun out there, and we did see you go long strategy-wise. Was that a bit of improvisation because of what had happened? Because you went the longest of everybody in GT3 by, I think, I'm double-checking here, it was a grand total of 2 extra laps.
Yeah, it's just kind of my game plan. And whenever I do endurance racing, it's always just a fuel save. So just lift and coast into corners, up shifting early, minimal braking, try and carry a speed through the corners, and that ended up with me going 2 laps longer than everyone else. Which actually surprised me is Joey decided to pit really, really early and try and get an undercut, and he actually came out right back behind the GT4 pack again. So he had to obviously go back through that entire pack, which lost him a lot of time. So I thought, yeah, I'll just stay out. Even though the tyres were starting to fall off a bit, I thought, oh, I'll just stay out, just carry on fuel saving as I am. Yeah, I ended up with a 5.5 seconds quicker stop time than Joey, which inevitably put me in the lead.
Well, it was a great pit stop for yourself, and that fuel saving really coming in handy and enabling you to take a brilliant win. But of course, no points earned today. It's just about bragging rights and gauging your competition, like you say. In 2 weeks' time, we begin the story at Indianapolis. Now, of course, I'm sure you're going to be going for the title in GT3, and your team will be going for what will be the team's championship title as well. Are there any rounds that you look at and think to yourself, right, these are the rounds where we need to watch out for you and the team?
I personally think Road Atlanta will be really strong. That's probably my favourite track ever. So, yeah, a lot of practice and stuff will go into that, and I'm sure I'll be very, very strong on there. But to be honest, I'm not really looking for a win. I know there's 2 absolutely rapid 9K drivers that are coming into the series, and I know that they're going to be almost impossible to stay with. Obviously, I'll do my best to stay with them whilst also trying to work out the strategy and stuff like that all at the same time. But series like this, they just come down to consistency. So as long as, you know, I'm P2, P3 every race, and my teammate Ryan's P2 and P3 in the GT4 class, I think at the end of the day we could still be on for the championship, even though neither of us would have won a race.
Oh, fair play. Really appreciate the thought you've put into that already, and it shows how seriously you are taking it, but at the same time as well, looking at what is things on a balance. And, well, just before we do let you go, of course, we'd always like to give you and any driver we interview an opportunity to give a shout-out or a thank you to anybody who sticks in mind. Is there anyone you would like to give a mention to on today's broadcast?
Just my mum and dad that sat downstairs. My dad had a go at me last interview for not giving him a big enough shout out about all my real racing stuff, all he does for me. And I think he underestimates how much I really appreciate it. Obviously, racing in real life, it's really, really expensive, even at club level. And that doesn't even cover damage, which can be obviously completely out of your control. So I'm obviously massively grateful for the opportunity that he's given me to race in real life.
I'm sure your dad will appreciate the shout out, Charlie. And, well, we really appreciate having the opportunity to catch up with you. Congratulations, Day, on the win. A great recovery drive and a fantastic piece of strategy. We'll see you out on circuit, start at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time to get your campaign underway. But until then, best of luck with the practice. Best of luck, of course, racing as part of the 750 Motor Club at Silverstone. And, well, we'll see you on the grid very soon.
Thank you.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from Charlie Devlin, and really great to talk to him about what was firstly his familiarisation with Silverstone and using the simulator to prepare for his racing as part of the BMW series, part of the 750 Motor Club. Of course, them heading to Silverstone International in the midst of August. But talking about how that simulator enabled him to prepare him for real life, and they've been reflected back in his abilities behind the wheel of the car here in the Transatlantic Trophy. Qualifying he was happy with, but in the race, of course, an early mistake on cold tyres, plus also some contact on lap number 4, all added together to force him onto the back foot. Mentioning the fact that he focused on extending defending his opening stint, something he typically does, and realised as well that all the leaders in GT3 were catching up to the GT4s at the wrong time, and so by going longer he actually gave himself more clear air to work with, and that's how he was able to make his way back into lead with a 5-second swing in the pit lane with so much fuel zone being put in, and Charlie Devlin looking very quick, although contextualised his performance today by saying there's some very fast drivers out there, particularly for the pro teams, where you do have some drivers who've got 9,000 I rating, when the gauge of I rating is if you go beyond 10,000, you're in the iRacing Hall of Fame. The highest I rating out there ever achieved, I believe, at 13,500 for context, and that is literally a tiny percentile who get above 10,000. But regardless of the numbers, with Charlie Devlin definitely gauging the numbers and thinking that he and his team, well, they might be able to win the championship by just simply being consistent throughout the season, not necessarily winning, but making sure they're always towards the very front of the field. And we look forward to seeing whether they can make that approach a reality. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got more interviews to come, and we'll be right back for our next interview of the evening. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we now come to our next interviewee, and it's going to be none other than what will be Lewis Johnson, who now joins me in the interview room as we get to hear from our GT4 driver, who definitely had to take the rough with the smooth today. Lewis, good evening to you. That looked a tough one out there, but it looked like you had a ton of fun as well.
Yeah, I had a great fun. I don't know if you saw my overtake on on the 3 cars, so I was like, yeah, let's just go for it. I had great fun there, but we don't talk about the start.
Oh, well, we definitely get some replay footage at the moment of one of your double overtakes early on in the race, and it was a lovely move there. But before we talk about the start of the race, we do have to come to it very briefly. Let's just talk a little bit about your experience in the McLaren GT4 and iRacing. Is this a new car to you, or is it one that you're familiar with?
It's a brand new car. I bought it today.
Oh, goodness me. We'll buy it at such short notice. So I can imagine getting used to it's been a bit of a change, particularly when we've given it a bit of extra power and also taking some of the weight out of the car.
Yeah, 100%. The straight line speed, it just shocks me. Like the exit speed as well. It was just so surprising. It doesn't feel like a slug as the other GT4s, because I've done the Porsche, but this one is so much better, I think.
Oh, fair play. Now, of course, in qualifying, we did see you put it on pole position for the GT4s there. Were you happy with your lap?
Happy-ish. I made a couple mistakes in Magus and Beckett's, so I lost 2/10s, but overall I was happy with it.
Well, definitely a great effort from yourself, although we did see you were a little bit quicker on some other laps that you did have to abandon. Still, taking that pole, and unfortunately, I have to then ask, what happened at the race start?
So, I'd never leaded a GT4 start, so I was already like stressed because I didn't want to mess it up for the whole of the grid. And then obviously I messed it up and gained 1.5 seconds on everyone. I was so far ahead, I was like, oh no, I've messed up. And then I come round and I've just dropped it. And then me being annoyed that I've dropped it, I've tried to spin round, hit another car and given myself wheel damage, and just had to deal with that wheel damage for the rest of the race. And it was awful.
Now, to be fair, you may have had the damage, and look, these things happen. That's why we had this pre-season event, and it is a bit of a different starting procedure we have here at SimRacing International. So the good thing is, you've made your mistake, you can learn from it as we go into the opening round. But, credit where it's due to you, you didn't give up, and you found plenty of fun to be had out there, including with, I think, Joe Glass, with the two of you getting very familiar with each other.
Yeah, 100%. I was trying the whole time. I don't know if you heard my voice chats. I was telling him like, come on, let's swap positions every time, because one of us would lead and then after the second lap would make a mistake and lose us more time. So I was trying to say, let's keep swapping and gain on the cars ahead, because we both had the pace to gain on the cars ahead and gain more positions. We were just making those small mistakes, and it was just, again, it was fun. I just wanted to gain. Like I had that passion and I wanted the podium.
We definitely were pushing hard for it, even with the damage car. And we saw, after you both got your cars repaired, that it was a bit of a repeat of the fight between yourself and Joe. But in the end, you did finally find a way ahead of him. But he was never giving up.
No, he was not giving up. He was, anytime he could stick his nose in, his nose was there. And it was great fun. But yeah, we've just got to see for next time. First race of the season. And I will be going for first. Like, don't count me out of it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm loving the spirit already. Although I do have to ask, of course, with our 10-round calendar, we've got a variety of circuits. Are there any in particular that you're sat there right now thinking, if that's going to be the round you win, it is that circuit?
Spa, 100% Spa.
Oh, a good old Belgian classic. Any others out there as well?
Maybe Monza. I'm not good at the American tracks at the start of the season, so I am quite worried about them and just making mistakes. But when it comes to the second half of the season, that will be my time to shine.
Oh, fair play. So it'll be a bit of a slow start for yourself, but we'll see those European circuits really come alive. Well, we look forward to that. And you're going for first, obviously. Is that the same for your teammate in the GT3s?
100%, 100. I'm gonna force him. You know, I'm going all out. We're making it. Whatever, we're making it.
Oh, I love the spirit, no doubt about it. Well, Lewis, just before we do let you go, one last question, of course, is we like to always give drivers an opportunity to give shout-outs to friends, family, team members, sponsors, etc. Is there anyone you would like to give a shout-out live on the broadcast this evening?
Alex, who gave me this opportunity because I had no one to race with, but I wanted to race. And fortunately, he managed to give me a teammate and give me a livery, you know, help organize this for me. So I'd like to thank him because without him, I wouldn't be here.
Oh, brilliant. Well, the fact that we've got you here is so great already. I mean, you've been a start already today, and I'm sure you're going to shine bright as we get things underway at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time. Lewis, well done on the win today. Thank you for joining me for an interview, and we will see you in round number 1.
Thank you.
So hearing there from a really highly spirited Lewis Johnson. I love that enthusiasm. He has got so much energy there. And we're talking about today the fact, well, getting acclimatised to a McLaren GT4 he's never driven before. And of course, with the fact we've added that power to the car, saying how quick it is coming out the corners and having to get used to it. Qualifying, a great pole lap, but he did have to abort a couple of laps where he was quicker, but still taking that pole position. And in the race, well, panicked a little bit. First time he's ever started a race on pole position in the sequential starts here at SimRacing International. And there was a little bit of confusion about the start procedure for the GT4s as we understand it. We did gain 1.5 seconds as it's being reported. But still, he made the mistake, put pressure on himself, made the error, and then subsequently there was the contact between himself and Joe Glass, but got his head down and focused on the racing, which is all about. And remember, no points on the line today. That's why we have these pre-season events. It helps get the cobwebs out, gets drivers used to it should they want to attend. And while Lewis in the end enjoying so much battling, taking 7th place, but as he mentioned there, I'm going for first. And well, if that's not John Clennon speak, I don't know what it is, ladies and gentlemen, because the Quench 9 Pegasus pan for a blue raspberry driver in the GT4 class at least. He's absolutely wanting to go for victory and expected to be strong in the European half of the season, he says. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that, but of course it's the American circuits that come up first. But with that, ladies and gents, we've got a few more interviews to come, so we'll step away and be back for our third interview very shortly. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we head back to the GT3 class. And now joining me in the interview is none other than NJ Race Tech's James Howarth. James, good evening to you. A race filled with battles out there, no doubt about it, and almost the top 5, if not for a pesky drive-through penalty. Do you have fun out there?
Yes and no. I want my battle tank back. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, goodness me, indeed. This must be a bit unfamiliar for you because you're very used to, of course, driving the Ford Mustang GT3. I mean, is it unfamiliar territory going from front-engine rear-wheel drive to mid-engine rear-wheel drive?
Yes, because with the Mustang, I've got better brake control. It suits my braking style. With this, I can't just slam on and then literally hope and then release the brake and let the back end kick out a bit. Unlike in this, you have to slowly trail brake, and that's a new skill I've got to try and master in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, indeed. Plenty of time to get more acclimatised how you need to control and brake with the McLaren. But still, to be fair to you, 7th place in qualifying, not a bad lap, and right in the midst of a very close pack. Were you perhaps surprised with yourself then with how well you did in qualifying?
Yes, considering I'm not, again, I'm not comfortable or familiar with the McLaren. Quite surprised that, to be fair. Does help knowing the track quite a bit, but Like I say, the McLaren is very loose and tight at the same time.
Well, indeed, a bit of a loose goose of a car on the rear end, and we did see it in the racing from the start. You were right in the thick of the battle with the likes of Ben Bennyworth. Also there we got to see was Thomas Weston. I mean, it was constant back and forth, but I think perhaps the hardest part was when you all arrived on the back of the GT4 traffic, and then suddenly it looked so you weren't always getting the best of luck with catching certain cars.
No, that, again, some people probably is new multi-class racing, so they haven't got the awareness. I know I was running third at one point, and then coming up to a back marker at turn 1, and then I lost 3 places. I think it was 2 or 3 places, P5, and it was just one of them try and catch up. My front tyres was pretty much dead by the pit stop. What else is there? But yeah, it's probably new to some people with multi-class racing.
Oh, indeed, it's one of the toughest parts of the racing, but at the same time, we did get to see, of course, you gradually make your way forward, and strategy-wise, you got to the pit quite early on lap number 13, where a lot of drivers went a little bit later, I do believe. Was that always part of trying to get out of the flow of the traffic?
No, that was me losing the rear end at Stowe.
Oh, yes.
And then, luckily, the pit lane was there, and I was in the pit strategy, so a bit of luck there. But with the black flag, I just got too many corner cuts, trying to find the edge of where the track limits are. But again, with the Mustang, I probably could get away with it because it's a lot wider. But compared to that, this is a go-kart.
Oh, indeed. Difference of cars there, and, well, the behaviour, plus also the track limits at Silverstone, are never quite forgiving by comparison. But the flip side of the coin is you've had a lot of fun out there today, and definitely had the pace to be in the top 5 of those attended. Have you set yourselves have you set yourself, I should say, or have your team set any targets for the season ahead?
Personally, no. I'm just here for the experience, learning a new car, looking for figuring out who to battle wheel to wheel and who to give a little space to, because I see a lot of new faces in this league, probably from GTE or the Sunday League. So new faces, new ways to battle and find out their limits, see how aggressive they are. But the battling's been fair and clean, so I'm quite happy with that.
Well, to be fair, we're happy to hear that you're here for the battling and the fun and the experience, and that's what it's all about. And, well, we wish you all the best luck in the season ahead. Although I have to ask, out of our calendar, are there any rounds in particular where you think those could be the rounds where you'll do very well compared to others?
I honestly don't know until I actually have a look at the calendar, so I'm just taking it one race at a time, but I'm just going to get it up now. Road Atlanta, Road America, Monza, that's pretty much an oval, so anyone can do that. Possibly Barcelona and Spa, the usual. I don't know, Sonoma. Portimao is like a roller coaster, so that's a hit and miss. Misano, again, that's if your luck is in. And Miami, that's just a survival battle.
Oh, fair play. Appreciate you giving us your thoughts on each of the individual circuits. And, well, Road Atlanta, I think one that many are going to enjoy, yourself included. And just as we do get ready to let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to?
Yourself, volunteering for this nice little league, something different, something new. So thank you for your time and effort, as always. The SRI League as well for putting it on, and the many, many championships that I somehow don't get a trophy for. And obviously the girlfriend Laura as well.
Well, James, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with yourself. I'm glad to hear you've had fun out there today, although more fun to be had as the season goes on, as per your targets for the season. But, of course, we look forward to also seeing you get to grips with a car that's very much outside of your comfort zone. But until then, thank you for joining me in the interview room, and we'll see you on the grid in 2 weeks' time at Indianapolis.
and you'll also see me tomorrow.
Oh, very true indeed. Catch you on the Thursday, GT3s.
Yeah. See you later, Paul.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, from James Howarth, indeed, racing in most, if not all, of our series here at SimRacing International. You'll see him on the grid tomorrow evening in the next round of the SimRacing International GT3 Championship. But in the here and now, enjoying himself out there, but talking about the fact, a very unfamiliar car. He is very much a Mustang guy. He loves front engine rear wheel drive, loves a heavy car, knows how the brakes work on the Mustang. So put him into a McLaren in the GT3 class. It's already out of his comfort zone because we've moved the engine behind the driver. Then add more power to the engine, plus also take weight out the car. It's a very different beast entirely. But to be fair, all part of the learning experience, and that's what he's here for, to have fun, go battling, and just see how it all goes. Although did mention there, watch out for him at Road Atlanta in particular. Although his appraisal of certain circuits there, such as Monza, I think it's more of an Italian oval. We'll have to wait and see whether he can go as well there as he thinks others will, or whether he may surprise us all with some great results, because he hasn't set himself any targets other than have fun, and that's the way to be fair, for the MJ Race Tech driver. And well, I think he's going to have a lot of fun as the season goes on. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a couple more interviews to come, and we'll step away as we head, I do believe, back to the GT4 class. And so we come to Jack Wybon for MRC 491, and here he now joins me in the interview room, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to you, Jack, and well, what a round of racing you've had. I know it's only pre-season, but something tells me right now this must have felt as though it was a championship finale with the way you had to climb back through the field.
Yeah, that was a very interesting, quite fun race, to be honest, after I run out of talent after 5 corners.
Now, to be fair, you've had a lot of fun out there by the sounds of things, and just as we come into it, of course, MRC back on the grid, full seriousness for this season. Of course, we've got 2 MRC teams. I mean, it's great to see you back out there. Have you missed being part of the ESRI grid?
Yeah, I've quite missed league racing. I obviously stepped away from it, obviously after having issues with my back, but that is now on the mend. So that is good. But yeah, no, it's quite good. Obviously had done the race Sunday, so that was fun. And yeah, racing tonight was really good fun.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's great to have you back first and foremost, and glad to hear your back is on the mend. Now, talking a little bit about the car, you're in the GT4 class for this season. Do you have much experience with GT4s?
I've done a couple of the IMSA Pilot Challenge and the Sports Car Challenge, but not major. I just said, does anyone want to do it? And I'll just drive the GT4. I thought it'd be worth a laugh. And yeah, we end up with two teams to do it, so it makes it even better.
Oh, to be fair, having a bit of a laugh, I get the thing, you've definitely had a laugh today, and that qualifying lap as well, taking second in class, a very impressive lap out there. Did you surprise yourself, or is that where you expected to be?
After the practice, I was sort of like, okay, the pace is here. And then, to be honest with you, I didn't want to start on pole because I wasn't too sure on the start procedure. So I was like, and then when I looked and Louis beat me, I was like, oh, brilliant. He can take the rap if it's wrong now. I haven't got to be the one in trouble now. But no, I was quite surprised with the pace, to be honest, considering like Brandon's speed, and I've raced with him against him before in GT3, and no, he's quick. And yeah, I was very surprised that we both got ahead of him, to be honest. And I was looking forward to a nice battle with Brandon, and then obviously after running out of talent, I won't ever get near him again.
Well, he did manage to break away a little bit in the end, but at the same time as well, we did get to see you enjoy a really good battle with Brad Pickett in the later stage of the race for third place. I mean, how was that? Because we saw you two go side by side for a good portion of the lap.
Yeah, that was a really good battle with Brad at the end. I don't know whether you caught the earlier battle as well, where there was 4 of us all fighting over the same piece of track. But no, that battle with Brad at the end was very good fun. I just couldn't. I was worried about my fuel because I didn't feel I fueled it up enough. So I was trying to save, and I was like, and then it worked out. I did have enough fuel, so I could push on a little bit. And yeah, just managed to finally get a run out of Beckett's after a few laps of trying. And yeah, managed to make the move and make it stick.
Oh, indeed. And well, I think we did catch the battle of the 4 of you earlier on in the race, and it was absolutely brilliant. So was that battle between yourself and Brad Pickett, and finally getting it to stick as well. And strategy-wise, I mean, we've seen today, I think that, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, everyone decides to just put fuel in the car and not change tyres. Do you think that's going to be the main theme of this season, even with the endurance races?
I think so. I think, especially with trying to get the tyres warm, I suppose track temperature is going to play a big part in it. I suppose if you're on a hotter track, you're gonna get forced into that. I think even in the hour-long races, I think in the endurance ones, 100%, you're gonna have to start looking after your tyres more. I think, but I do think if it's cool like it was today, I think a lot of people won't change tyres because you're gonna have 2 or 3 laps of trying to get them into the zone again. And you can lose 4 or 5 seconds in that, and then it could just be your race over. That's where you're going to be then. So I'd say a lot of people go probably not change tyres.
All fair play. Appreciate your insights on that. We'll have to wait and see if that's the way it plays out in reality. But then, with respect to what is, of course, the season ahead, a third place here today. Have you set yourself any targets for the season?
Got to beat the OOP team.
Oh, goodness me, I love that. Oh, go on.
That's objective number 1. No, it's just an objective. Well, to be fair, to try and win races, depending on what class or overall, I'm not really too fussed, to be honest. Just to try and win as many as I can. If I can get a championship, and we can get the team championship as well, it'd be even better.
Oh, it would be even better there, even if it's just beating the OAP team, like you say, but trying to go even higher for that and gain some of those trophies or awards. Well, we do wish you and the team the best of luck with that, because it's going to be so tight out there. And if there are any circuits that we're going to that where you think you'll do your best, or those are your jam, perhaps, as some would say, what would they be?
Probably be Road America, I like, Atlanta, I like, and probably Monza would be a good one for me. I think they'll be the ones I think I'll stand up, be more competitive in, I think. I've said that now, and it'll be the complete opposite. It'll be at all the other tracks, but you never where these things go when you say it.
Oh, very true. It can be that way, but still have to wait and see. And just before we do let you go, Jack, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out or a mention to on the broadcast?
Oh, I'm going to have to mention Ray for obviously pairing up to do this championship with me and the team, and then afterwards the OAPs decide to join in and take the spotter away from me, which I'm a bit upset about. So, but give them a shout out all the same. But no, the MRC team as a whole, I think we're a brilliant group of lads, and it should be good fun good fun and competition throughout the season.
Oh, fantastic. We definitely look forward to seeing all the MRC crew, whether it's in the 491 or the 493 team, having fun out there, yourself included. Jack, it's been a blast catching up with you. Fantastic racing today, and well, congratulations on the third. Hope there's plenty more podiums, perhaps even wins as the season comes about. But we'll only know when we kick off in 2 weeks' time at Indianapolis. Until then, have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
So here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for a very jolly Jack Wyborn. It's so great to have him back indeed. I've missed speaking to Jack. I think it's been the best part of a year now since he did have to take the pause from sim racing, as he mentioned there, due to his medical situation with his back. But he's back now on the mend. And well, it's not quite the same when you don't have the Mr. Wyborn having a good time out there. And well, he's definitely enjoyed himself today. Qualifying, happy with it, given the expectations with the GT4 car. And he's done some officials, but getting used to this McLaren with the extra power in it. But in the race, enjoying plenty of battling, only to find himself in the end getting dug into the thick of it until it all went a bit wrong and had to try and recover his way back into the race. Did so, taking that third place over Brad Pickett in that brilliant battle towards the end, and will set his targets and aspirations, of course, first and foremost on the thought process, which is that he may just be able to get not just ahead of MRC 493, the OAP team, but also potentially go chasing after the win with his teammate. But of course, it's a long season ahead, and will first and foremost beat the sister team, and after that, everything else is a cherry on top, it would seem, for Jack Wyborn and MRC 491. But with that, ladies and gents, we have one last interview to come, and I do believe we're staying in the GT4 class for our final interview of the day. We'll be right back. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we complete our interviews for this pre-season event by coming to a very patiently waiting Alex Fretwell. And he's told me that I can refer to the team name as Quench9PP, so as not to exhaust my vocal cords. Alex, good evening to you. What a fun race you've had up there from 8th to 2nd. I mean, if that was the championship race, I think you'd be jumping up and down with joy at that podium.
Yeah, really positive start. Yeah, solid result. By the time I got up there, I was a little bit lonely, to be honest. I think got up to 3rd for a while and then took 2nd during the stop, so I'm not sure why the stop was a little slower for some of the guys out there. Yeah, decent race. Good to be back, obviously, in SRI as well. I think it was sort of February time in the GT3s last time I was around. But yeah, all positive and a little bit of work to do before the season proper starts, but no, a good start.
Oh, indeed, a great start. And I'm going to come straight on to that. So what do you think you need to work on based on today?
A little bit more time in the car, to be honest. It's the first time with the McLaren GT4, and obviously there's some changes to it as well for this series. So yeah, a little bit more seat time. Even in qualifying, I got, I think, 1 lap in right at the start, which was horrendous, and then yeah, went wide on pretty much every lap after that, and got 1 right in at the end to get that P8 on the grid. Yeah, so just sort of getting to grips with what the limits are. It did seem to respond to a bit of a smoother sort of classic slow in fast out style. Go on top of that, and yeah, just kept making progress. So I think if I can make that much progress within 1 hour, then with a little bit more work, we can definitely fight.
Oh, well, definitely, it sounds like you're getting on top of the car quite quickly there, particularly with the extra power and less weight in it. And like you say, 8th place in qualifying, then with the qualifying session not working out. But we did make some very steady progress throughout the entirety of the race. Although, I have to ask, we spoke to our GT3 drivers earlier on about them catch up to GT4s. What was it like on being on the receiving end in the slower class when the GT3s came through as a pack?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It did feel, compared to the cars around me, that I was getting the short end of the stick a few times. I don't think I had many overtaking me down the straights or out of corners. It was all sort of on the apex of cops, maggots, and Beckett's, that sort of thing. But no, honestly, it was fine, and I think people will obviously settle in and get used to the ideal sort of places and things like that, but no major issues.
Well, no issues as such there, and indeed, looks like you had a relatively issue-free race. Pit stop-wise, we did get to see, in the end, take pretty much a standard approach there in terms of when you opted to pit. Did you have a strategy in mind, or did you just improvise on how it all went on the fly?
I sort of an outline sort of penciled in. The only difference would have been if I had a big group of GT3s coming up behind me and I was sort of near a pit window, then probably would have pitted a lap or two early if needed. But to be fair, I was in a nice bit of open track at that point, so took it right to the end of the fuel. And yeah, I obviously didn't take tyres or anything, just auto-fueled, and yeah, pretty decent stop in the end.
Well, indeed, a good stop, and in the end, find yourself coming out in a very happy 2nd place. Brandon Dyer a bit far away, though what was interesting is towards the end of the race, we did see you and Brandon start to match each other on lap times. Was that, again, the car coming to you, or perhaps did you feel perhaps happier on a car with worn tyres? Because everyone stayed on the tyres they started on, I believe.
Yeah, to be fair, it felt pretty decent throughout. I don't think there was any sort of major balance shift, maybe just a little bit more understeer coming in towards the end. So in some of those quick corners, it can be a little bit frustrating, but obviously it can just make things a little safer and more predictable as well. I think it was just as the race came to me, and obviously by the time I'd got into some clear air as well, I think I lost a lot of time in that opening stint. It was carrying some damage as well from lap 1 until the pit stop. So yeah, got rid of all those problems, and then it was pretty much matching the lead pace. But obviously when you've got a 10-second gap, you need to be much more than matching. But no, it's positive. I'm sure obviously with every pre-season there'll be 1 or 2 show up for the round 1 proper that might slot themselves in near the front. But no, we should be there or thereabouts. Just need to nail qualifying at the next one.
Oh, indeed. Qualifying a big part of what you may need to focus on, like you say, but still, we look forward to seeing what you can bring to the table at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time. Speaking of which, obviously, we've got an American leg and a European leg. Is there a particular leg of the championship you're looking forward to? Because I do know earlier when we did catch up with our other drivers, they said, watch out for them in the European circuits, less so the Americans.
Not so much a preferred leg. Obviously, there's probably more recognisable tracks for a lot of people in that European leg. But to be fair, I've done quite a few races on some of the US tracks as well. Red America is probably going to be a bit of a highlight, 90-minute race as well. So that sort of steady approach might pay off a little bit more there. Any of the mixed weather events as well tend to go quite well. Maybe nice conservative approach all the time, really, and it pays off when there's a bit more chaos. But yeah, Red America is probably the standout in that.
All fair play. Well, we look forward to seeing where you can make some magic happen at Road America amongst the other circuits. But just before we let you go, Alex, is there anyone you'd like to give a mention or a shout out to on the broadcast?
Just all the guys, yourself and everyone else who's organising all the leagues here. Obviously, as I mentioned, good to be back for the first time in a few months. And yeah, to be fair, it's sort of like riding a bike, really never really felt like I've been away. And then obviously my teammates as well. There's 1 or 2 missing tonight, but we should have a full squad ready for the season, 3 teams, and hopefully pick up some decent points.
Oh, well, it'll be fantastic to see the full Quench 9 Pegasus Panther teams on the grid starting at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time to see how you can all pick up the points and chase championship glory. And, well, on a personal level, Alex, it's great to see you back on the grid once again after some time away. We're very happy to see you here, and we look forward to seeing you prove what you can do in that GT4 as the season goes on. Until then, congratulations on the 2nd place, and thank you for joining me in the interview room, and we will see you at Indianapolis.
Thank you.
And so here and there, ladies and gentlemen, for our final interview of today, Alex Fretwell there. And mentioned the fact last time he was on the grid, and I do remember it very well, was, I do believe, in the tail end of Season 10 of the Thursday GT3 Championship with his infamous sprint race win at the Bathurst circuit, when he putting up a huge defensive wall and making the most of the opportunities as they came. And one absolute monster drive from him then. And today as well, a great drive as well. Although mentioning qualifying is where he needs to do a lot of work, because that 8th place in the end, coming as a result of some rather scrappy laps, he couldn't quite put all the dots together. But in the race, with some mistakes of other drivers and a very smooth approach, and finding this car, with the way it's set up, requires a slow in, fast out approach, well, he's definitely looking quicker and quicker every lap turned. Also mentioned there the fact that being on the receiving end of the GT3s coming through had no issues as such. They seemed to get the worst stick of some of the moments for the GT3s in terms of when they caught up to him. But at the same time, that's the way it goes. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. But Alex and the team at Quench 9 Pegasus Panther are definitely going to be some drivers to beat out there. And the thing about Alex Fretwell is the fact he may not be the quickest on paper over a single lap, but never rule him out when a good strategy and some consistency come together. Because he's definitely been Mr. Consistent in the past. And something tells me here, as he returns, like you said, it's like riding the bike. You never quite forget it. I don't think he's quite forgotten how to run a race well compared to some of his rivals. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews for this pre-season event here at Silverstone. And let's give you a quick recap of who we've spoken to. And well, we've had an absolutely packed interview room today. We started, of course, in the GT3 class with your class winner. That's Future Class Racing's Charlie Devlin, having a good chat there, not just about his livery. A new one is in the works, of course, the formal team livery for the season opener. Although his livery has made me very hungry, I can tell you that, ladies and gentlemen. And he was hungry for victory, but expected as well. He's not necessarily going to be the winner out there, given the pace of some of the drivers in the class who are not here today. But he's going to be chasing the championship crown through consistency. Then we came to Lewis Johnson, the man who took pole in GT4, only to lose out with some mistakes early on, but make no mistake, he had a lot of fun out there, and as he said, I'm going for first this season, and we look forward to see him chase that championship glory. Then we came to James Howarth in the GT3 class at MJ Race Tech, and we got to see him have a bit of a middling day, although at one point fighting for third and trying to push for a top 5, but in the end a drive-through penalty scuppering his opportunity, plus also that huge shunt with the wall coming out of Stowe Bend where he got it wrong, still learning as he's gone from the Ford Mustang to the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo, and we're definitely having to figure out how to master the art of mid-engine rear-wheel drive. Then we came to the GT4 class for our final 2 interviews. Jack Wyborn firstly, talking about his return to the racing grid after recovering from what has been some issues with his back, and really enjoying himself out there, having plenty of fun fighting, but in the 3 and 4 wides, taking that 3rd place, and the man who just finished in front of him in the end, none other than Alex Fretwell, who had a bit of a lonely race, picked up all the places early on, and was never truly troubled, but kept it smooth and consistent. And a huge thank you to all 5 of our interviewees, and we'll try to get 4 to 5 interviews each and every round of our drivers. Not always the same names, to be fair. We'll try to get drivers up and down the grid for your viewing pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, because it's always good to have conversations with those with stars at the front, but also those who are not always in the spotlight, but deserve their time in the spotlight when they have some of their personal best out in the season as well. And well, big thank you to all 5 of our drivers this evening for their performances and their time in the interview room. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know how you can get on the grid here at SimRacing International, or if that has set you up with a major appetite to want to be on the Transatlantic Trophy grid, well, it has been filled out, but we do have a reserve list for any of our series, and to get on the grid, all you need to do is go and join our official Discord. Invite link at the bottom of the screen, and if you do, we can get on the grid for any of our paid series, or at least just join the reserve list, and only pay once you are able to join the grid. Don't worry, we don't take your money unless you're actually going racing. And well, Thursday evenings, you'll see it tomorrow, of course, for round number 5 of the championship. It is season 13 of the Thursday GT3 Championship at SimRacing International with our A and B splits. Then on Friday evenings every 2 weeks, and due to get underway with its first full round in just over a week's time, it will be season 3 of the Grand Touring Endurance or the GTE Class Championship as we bring the old GT machines back from the grave. But of course, if you're a GT3 fan and more of a weekend racer, we do have you covered on Sunday evenings for the UK Sim Racing Sunday Showdown in its 19th season on a weekly basis. But of course, today you've been tuning into the Motorsport UK Esports approved championship, the Transatlantic Trophy Season 1, dedicated to the wonderful machines in the name of Bruce McLaren. And that's on Wednesday evenings every 2 weeks, and will definitely the biggest series we have done so far. And we're very excited, especially so now we've had this pre-season event to see what is to come when we raise the curtain and play for points in 2 weeks' time. But of course, if you're looking for something far more casual, perhaps you're just looking to join something to get to know the guys and girls at SimRacing International and have a little bit of fun, dip your toes in, particularly if you're a rookie to league racing. We do have free races every week as part of our practice league, with the days alternated. But indeed, there's something for everybody here at SimRacing International. And whether you're an esports professional all the way through to a rookie, don't be afraid to join us, because I'll tell you one thing, you'll be joining one of the friendliest communities out there, and you'll be very welcome no matter what your skill level. But we'd also like to take a moment, of course, to say a big thank you to our series and league sponsors. A big shout out, of course, to our series sponsors, i.e. for the Transatlantic Trophy, that being trophi.ai and also SimCoach, where you can unlock your full potential, or your true potential, as their brand mantra would say. We'd also like to say a big thank you to our league sponsors of Carme Modern Technology and the GP2 Group, and also we'd like to give a huge shout out to Motorsport UK Esports for recognising us here as a recommended community at SimRacing International. Long may it continue throughout 2026 and beyond, and also for giving their approval to this championship. We're very proud of that accolade, and well, we are definitely going to do Motorsport UK Esports proud in turn as the season gets ready to get underway. And speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, well, save the date in your diary. Wednesday, the 12th of August, 2026, we make our way to the US of A, and we begin it all in the US state of Indiana at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The infamous Brickyards Road Course will play host our drivers for our opening round. And well, whilst we've only seen half the grid here today in the pre-season event, I can tell you one thing, in GT3 at least, Charlie Devlin's definitely put down a big benchmark, which many will have to try and chase after and follow in terms of consistency and pace. And in GT4, it was anybody's race between Jack Wyborn and also there none other likes of what we did see Lewis Johnson and Brandon Dyer. Brandon Dyer may have been the winner, but not necessarily so when points are on the line in 2 weeks' time. So how will it all get underway at Indianapolis under sunny skies? We'll tune in with us then on Wednesday the 12th of August to find out how the story begins. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, you've been tuning in to the pre-season event for the SimRacing International Transatlantic Trophy Season 1. We have been SimRacing International. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, remember to stay on track. Good night.